Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew-Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew-Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew-Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew-Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew-Built Conicals. You can trust Brew-Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew-Built at morebeer.com.
Today's Sunday session is brought to you thanks to the fine folks at More Beer. Visit them right now at morebeer.com.
Great beer is about drinkability. Doesn't matter the style.
You guys are like walking beer Wikipedia. That's the first time that you've ever accepted me as a person.
Or you have a fermentation in your gut.
I'm jet propelled at all times.
How many guys do you think that you have the privilege to slap?
Somebody who's never tasted a commercial example, and this is how you know everything about this beer? Please, you don't.
I think that's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit too.
Wow. Are you guys going to arm wrestle?
No.
We're going to teabag fight instead.
Yeah. You heard of Junkyard Wars?
Can I get another high five, Beavis?
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Well, hello. Welcome to The Session. My name's Justin Crosley. I will be your host tonight.
Yes.
And I think for the entire month of November.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
You must have at least 2 weeks off.
I'm trying, but no, I gotta work. I am leaving back to Fort Collins, but only for a couple of days. I'm leaving in between shows, so I'll be back.
The old in and out.
Like a normal person.
And doing an additional show in Fort Collins, which I'll tell you about in a minute, and that we will broadcast here at the beginning of December. I'll put that up for everybody to listen to. Of course, you'll be able to watch it live, though, but I'll give you more info on that. So, yeah, I'm here for November. Got Thanksgiving coming up. Big holiday here in the U.S. that I always get excited about. It's my favorite holiday.
I like it. I like Thanksgiving.
Eating and beer.
Yeah, it's the day you really don't have to worry about shit.
Yep. Everything's closed, and nothing you can do even if you want to do it.
Traffic's even kind of light, depending on where you're going, and you don't have to worry about if you brought all the presents, or if they're going to like the thing, or if you have enough candy, or whatever, right? It's just, you go and you eat, and then you drink a lot of celebration. That's about it.
You're absolutely right. I didn't even think of it that way. That's probably is why I like it. There's nothing else to do except for hang out. And
like you said, you can't do anything even if you wanted to.
Yeah. So I'll be home for that, and that should be a good time, and yeah.
I get to teach a couple of foreigners about the gift of Thanksgiving.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What do you have going on there?
Well, I'll be in Maui.
Oh, okay.
And, there's some foreigners coming, a couple of them.
Okay.
European-ish type. And, of course, they know nothing about our
my penis type?
My penis
foreign
type. So they're ladies.
European-ish.
Or they're small and abused. Either way.
Of course, they don't know about the wonder and the glory of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it'll be story time.
So you'll be on Maui for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's a good place to be. Very nice.
No. Get the fall weather in.
Yeah. Right.
You might need to bring a windbreaker.
Maybe.
An umbrella. All right. Went to the Rare Barrel anniversary this weekend. Oh, you guys went also, right?
Yeah, I went to the afternoon sesh.
Okay.
Yeah, had a little afternoon sesh.
The evening one was grand, though.
We had a good time. Had their 4th anniversary, our friends over at the Rare Barrel. Yeah. And as always, a lot of great sour beer, plus some good tweener beer, to cleanse the old palate.
Yeah, had a few of those.
Which was nice. I like that they dropped the ticket portion this year, where it's like one ticket per pour.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
not,
that's ridiculous.
And frankly, not to drink more, it was just kind of a hassle. I've always thought that was a hassle.
Yeah.
And at a party like that, I feel like they're not giving away any more beer by eliminating tickets. I always had tickets left over.
Not with that crowd. They're there for variety, and they're not looking for
Right, and it was a pretty mellow crowd.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the fights to break out, but it didn't happen.
Never happens. They're all pretty cool there. And
I only got crop dusted once.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow, yeah, on the first session even.
that's
On the first session. Yeah, I agree. And I will say the one complaint I would give if Alex or Jay were here is that they were pouring too much beer at a time.
Too many different beers.
Too much in the glass. Too big a pour.
I
was
because
thinking
they had front, back, and front of the menu. They had 3 pages of beer, a lot of stuff from the cellar, and like you said, a lot of tweener beers. And I wanted to try a lot of the things, and they had different vintages, and it was just like, here's a fucking 7% sour beer that I gotta. I was pouring out a lot of beer, and I felt kind of bad for it until I realized it doesn't matter. Like, it's going to either get drunk or down the drain anyway. So I'm fine. But I was asking people, like, just a little bit to say it right there, perfect. Yeah, like just give me a little bit because I want to taste it. I want to enjoy it.
Give me one finger.
Yeah,
and then move on.
If they want more, just move on.
Well, and they were both walking around with these big bottles that just pop up out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, they're doing 3 liters,
3 liter,
3 liter bottles,
big ones, and it's like, oh hey, what's in your hand? And they're just
Well, I think their whole thing is a celebration, even more than it is a tasting.
It's a party.
So generosity is, I think, part of that, and that's probably why the pours are bigger and everything else, because they just really are like, thanks for everything. We want to party with you.
Yeah, and it was cool, and I think for them being as accessible as they were with all of the guests, it did seem more like that, more like a celebration, more like a party instead of an event.
Yeah,
and I don't know, I liked that a lot. It was kind of neat. Just see them flittering around and talking to everybody and just engaging in every single person that wanted to chew their ear off. They were there and they were smiling about it, and it was really neat.
Yeah, it's probably nice to still enjoy your job.
Well, they probably do okay in the money department.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're a functioning business.
Yeah. But I agree. I like hanging out with those guys. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was cool.
Big thanks to them, and a congratulations on 4 years in a emerging market. You know, they were one of the first sour only breweries around.
Yeah.
Certainly in California, if not the whole country. So
yeah,
good on them. That was a good time.
And they select some pretty good beers that aren't sour beers.
Yeah.
They had some pretty good beers on tap, man, and I dug it.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I stayed for the whole thing, which I never do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got there early, stayed late.
Wow.
I had a lot of fun.
Nice.
For weird I don't know why. I just decided to have fun that day.
Well, you got a baby coming now.
I do.
You're living it up while you can.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to go away.
Yeah, you know what?
Well, I got a DD.
Charge into that final finish line.
Yeah, did you bring Taryn as your DD?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Well, so I was like, well, shit, Taryn's not going to want to go, so who should I bring as my +1? And I was like, well, no, I got to ask her. But I threw out, like, the default, like the obligatory question, because I'm like, she's not going to want to go. She can't drink. Hey, Taryn, do you want to go to the Rare Barrel for the blah? Yeah, I think that sounds fun. I'm like, really?
Wow.
You're just going to sit and, like, watch me drink sour beers that you can't have?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, but I'll go. It'll be fun. Okay, great.
Right. Stop reminding her. Just ask the question.
Throw the
She
keys
says
at her.
yes, you go, man. You can talk about it later when you're at the venue, and too late.
Yeah, too late, ho. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it was a good time. She, had a couple sips here and there of her favorite beers, and her cousin was there, so there's some family going on, and I don't know. It was still cool.
All right.
Yeah.
And you saw your baby on a TV screen today.
Yeah, we had our 20-week and 2-day ultrasound.
Okay.
Which was weird as hell, man.
Yeah.
Because the baby was like face down, I guess, and so they were trying to like get under the bump or whatever, the under the baby to like look at its face and do all the things.
Okay.
And it's like just this cross-section view of a child of like, here are the ribs, and then now here's the heart beating, and then now the bottom set of the ribs, and here's the spine. And then they're like, oh, here's the top section of the spine. It was like through the cerebral. They were measuring like the cerebral cortex and the limbs, and like it's just a drill down center of the spine. And I'm like, we're dissecting this child via sound waves, which was
and everything's
weird.
healthy. It sounds like
everything's fine. Yeah, everything's everything's fine. At one point, the lady was like, "Okay, well, we're going to need you to go to the bathroom because there's a little urine in the bladder and the baby's upside down. I want to get a facial view, like a full-on front view of the baby, and sometimes that makes the baby turn." So Taryn goes to the thing, comes back. Nope, didn't work. So she goes, "Okay, I'll tell you what. Well, I'm going to need you to get on all fours and stay that way for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that makes the baby move." And I'm going, that's kind of how we got here in the first place. And so
that was
she's
the first mistake.
Yeah, so she's on all fours on the fucking table, just laughing, going, "I can't believe I'm I'm doing this. This is a thing." And
hospitals are to be like embarrassed.
Right.
I'm like,
put your pride at the door.
Yeah, it's true.
Can we lock the door? Like, what's going on here?
Really.
It was a trip, man. It was a trip.
In a related story, I'm actually starting a podcast called Conversations I Never Thought I'd Have with JP.
Yeah, dude.
I'm thinking about the 14 or so years that we've known each other, and I cannot think of one moment in that time that I predicted we'd be having this conversation.
Yeah, would have thought.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this morning we were looking at cribs. And we were looking, Google search.
The show on MTV?
Yes. The DVDs, the Blu-rays, spot on.
Yeah.
And, we want to get like a conversion crib, which is just a crib and then it converts into like, you can make it a bed for like 4 years. You can keep this thing. So, you don't have to worry about spending X amount of dollars.
Smart.
But going through 25 different versions of basically the same design of crib, it's like I can't. I don't know. I've never thought I would do this in my wildest dreams. Now we're going to go to the fucking ultrasound. It's just I don't know.
It's a different day.
It's a weird day, man.
Don't you just find the one that doesn't have lead in it and that isn't going to kill your kid? That's how you weed
Will their
through
head
them.
fit in there?
Yeah.
Can they just get
if they're
twisted
all
up?
basically the same, you just go to Consumer Reports and figure out which one's less likely to kill your baby,
Right.
and that's the one you buy.
Yes, that's true. We were looking at I don't know. This one has a little flare. This one has the changing station and a couple drawers attached to it.
It's like a car. It's options.
It is. It exactly is. And then well, what do you get for this? If for $500 you can get a 3-piece thing, or like her aunt wants to buy us a $2,000 crib from Restoration Hardware.
Right.
And I'm like, I, as a human being related to you by marriage, cannot ask you to do that or let you do that. That's an insane way.
And by the way,
it's an insane waste of
money. You'll get $1,000 of that back when you sell it later because people love that shit. And
that's
it's going to be unused. You wipe off the puke and the shit and you sell it. It's fine.
It's antique. So.
It's antique. Well, the way I thought about it, it's like we can get a 3-piece for $600. And if you still want to spend that money, we need clothes and diapers and all the other accoutrements that come with a fetal
You'll be amazed
right.
how much other stuff. But I'm glad you're counting in weeks and days now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of the baby and the anniversary party.
Yeah.
Me and Beardy were talking to Death Metal Nathan.
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice.
He didn't know.
Ah.
And so he just kind of comes out, and his face went whiter.
Yeah.
You saw his eyes.
Oh, man, his eyes rolled back.
Saw his brainstem.
Oh, he didn't talk for a second or two. And then we all looked at each other and go, who's going to tell Nicole? It's like, ah. And then she comes rolling up right after that, and we all just blurted it out. I don't think she breathed for a minute. We didn't realize that people didn't already know.
Yeah,
it was pretty amazing.
That's cool, man. That's cool. I wonder if it was more fear because now Warren was afraid of this too because now the pressure's on.
Well, he did mention that.
Okay,
he really didn't mention that.
Okay,
he was thinking it. Beardy definitely had the fear. The fear.
Yeah,
yeah. He's on a
collision course.
Yeah,
it's a death ride.
It's a matter of time for that.
It's a matter of time for all of us.
Yeah,
most of us.
It's a matter of time for most of us.
Tracy and me are done.
Well, on tonight's program, we will be speaking, welcoming back to the program, as a matter of fact, Mr. Ry Beville. He's the publisher of the Japan Beer Times. And we spoke to him a couple years ago about the Japanese beer scene. I believe we had Koedo Brewery on as well and tasted their beer. And, Ry reached out to me after the acquisition of Anchor Brewing by Sapporo. Brewing Company. And he said, hey, a lot of this is going on with the Asian beer market, and I was wondering if you'd like to do a show. You've got Kirin, who bought a pretty large stake in Brooklyn. And then ultimately there's some kind of deal going on between the 21A, Brooklyn, and Funkwerks that has to do with Kirin. It's
Kirin money moved around.
Distribution deal of sorts. And a host of other things happening. So I thought it was a great idea to come in and talk about, we've been talking a lot about the acquisitions happening in America, but we haven't talked specifically about the Asian beer conglomerates buying in. So I thought that'd be a lot of fun. We got Ry here to talk to us about that. So we'll get a little insight and maybe get a handle on how that's going to keep moving forward.
He's an expert on all that stuff.
Yeah. So we'll be talking to Ry in just a few minutes. Let me get through some announcements. Announcements are brought to you today by Drake's Brewing Company. Good people over at Drake's, you know that. We love them. And they got a new beer out, Dark Wing IPA. It's a dark beer.
How'd you guess?
It's got 7.5% alcohol, 63 IBUs. It sounds amazing. It says that they bring bright hop notes of crushed pine needles, dank herbaceousness, and a touch of grapefruit marmalade. That sweetness in there. So check it out. You can go to drinkdrakes.com and learn all about their events and the new beers that are coming out. Darkwing IPA is out now.
Now I just want to try grapefruit marmalade. That sounds delicious.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
And actually, tonight, I'm late knowing about it, but there's an all-female event happening at Drake's tonight. They teamed up with their friends over at Eagle Rock Brewery.
There you go.
Where they're just doing it's tasting and flights in an open discussion about the beers with Devin, the production manager from Drake's, and Ting Su from
Eagle Rock,
hanging out over there. So a little late to promote that for you to go. I just thought it was cool that they're doing it.
Yeah, they do. Ting does a lot of women's forums at Eagle Rock. They're really big and reaching out to women, getting more women into craft beer.
Nice.
And teaching them the vocabulary, teaching them the how to describe the beers and not just kind of be in the background.
Yeah.
Because they just like a beer. Like, learn what you like so you can drink more beer, and we can all kind of get in this place together.
There you go. All right. So announcements brought to you by Drake's. We are having our Sonoma Pride fundraiser here at the Hop Grenade on Friday the 10th. What was that? This Friday. Yeah. This Friday. And that's raising money for Napa, Sonoma counties, the recent fire disasters there. So come on out, because 100% of the proceeds go directly to the foundation there. They need the help. And you're going to drink beer anyway. Especially on a Friday night.
Yeah, and they're all going to be great beers, too. So the beers you want to drink, for sure.
Yeah, one of them made by Russian River. I believe we've got one made by Hen House, and I forget who the third one is
that we got. 54 breweries in the area making breweries for the Sonoma Pride.
Are there?
Yeah,
okay.
There's a ton.
Got it. Yeah, when they reached out to us, it wasn't that many at all. There was something like 5 or 6 available, so it must have just really grown. But I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, you're going to spend that money anyway, so help out our brothers up in the North Bay, brothers and sisters. That's on November 10th here. And then on the following Friday, on November 17th, I will be live in Fort Collins producing a session from there. So you can come hang out, check out our new Fort Collins Hop Grenade, and, meet me, I guess, and our guests, and hang out, we'll drink some beer, and we'll do a show from there. So those couple things happening. Our huge Brewing Network store-wide sale, it has been in effect for a week now, and you guys are responding very well to that. So get in there fast if you want to get your merch. Everything is 20 to 50% off. Almost everything. I think there's a couple items like our new Sour Hour shirts that are in there. They're not on sale yet. So go check it out, because stock is missing. If you remember from last week, I was just letting you know that's the point. We're trying to get rid of it all so I can bring in some new stuff in the new year. So go check it out over at the Brewing Network store. 20 to 50% off now until while supplies last. So, All right. Of course, you can support us with Amazon Shopping. Just hit the Amazon links on our homepage and go do your shopping. You can subscribe and join the BN Army. That enters you into the More Beer monthly donation giveaway, and that's a chance to win $100 to More Beer. We do that drawing every month.
Every month for you, bro.
More Beer has brought you this session, of course. For years, the folks at More Beer have been leading the charge when it comes to cool and unique homebrewing equipment like the RoboBrew, the easiest way to brew all grain. Made from stainless steel, the RoboBrew allows you to make 9 gallons of beer all in one vessel, from boil to mash to cooling. The RoboBrew truly is self-contained. If you're thinking about getting into all grain before, if you haven't thinking about it, you should seriously consider the RoboBrew. Or up your fermentation game with the all-new Fermentosaurus plastic conical. It has a 9-gallon capacity also, a stainless steel stand, a sturdy butterfly dump valve at the bottom, and the best part is it'll hold up to 35 psi. Check out these awesome innovations and more over at morebeer.com. All right, you can get updates and photos and weird stuff and more on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send your feedback in to us, feedback@thebrewingnetwork.com. We love to read that stuff.
We do.
Do we have a Twitter game today, JP?
We do have a Twitter game today, Justin. Thank you for asking.
It's amazing.
Thank
I
you.
love it. Twitter game's brought to you today by the American Homebrewers Association,
Yes.
our good friends over there. You can sign up for a membership through our website by clicking the AHA link. It's found near that Amazon link and the BYO link and all the other links that you can support us with. Get your membership, and then you'll have access to the amazing Brew Guru app, which shows you where to go buy beer on a discount or brewing ingredients or anything in their member affiliate program. So check out the Brew Guru app in iTunes and Google, whatever. Okay.
Google Earth, I think, is what it is.
All right, there you go. Well, what's our Twitter game?
Well, as we talked about on the last show, Jamil has, in fact, been recording Brew Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Just nobody knows about it.
Right.
So I feel like Jamil is moving in the shadows, moving in secret. So what else has Jamil been doing in secret?
Okay. Great question.
Thanks.
And the funny thing is, the truth will probably be funnier than the Twitter game.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, for sure.
Weird guy.
He is definitely a weird guy.
Only in the shadows.
I'm just shaving the ball.
All right, you want to do some feedback, Doc?
Please.
All right, feedback's brought to you today by the Beer Law Center. Where's my book? Bevo?
Oh, Lupe was reading it.
He's reading it.
Can I have my... Let me have my...
Yeah, Lupe was looking for pictures in it.
Our good friend John over at the Beer Law Center takes care of our trademark and copyright needs, and he can help you too. Just go to beerlawcenter.com. And you know, we've been telling you he's coming out with this new book called Beer Law: What Brewers Need to Know. He's done that.
He's done. Yeah.
That's a thick book. Is half of it the foreword?
I know, right?
Fuck, I wish. If I had that much real estate, are you kidding me? It'd be the most boring forward ever.
So there are two important things to note about this book. One is that there's a recommendation from me on the back.
Very good. Very good, young sir.
You know your books.
More importantly, there's a foreword by our very own JP.
Oh,
That's right. Thank you very much.
He's a paralegal.
I know my forwards.
So you were too busy to write the foreword?
Hang on, let me turn you on.
You wrote the
No, he's fine.
So you were too busy to write the foreword?
Yeah, I had to turn it down. No,
Hey, man,
in all fairness, I was not asked. JP was
Has that been
asked.
fact-checked?
and,
I didn't really look that over.
the foreword?
There's some things that might have known. That's interesting.
The ending's the best part.
The ending of the forward?
was the ending?
I agree. Because it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for two reasons,
Yeah,
actually.
that's true.
I thought we should read an excerpt from it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you like the author to read
Yeah,
next?
I think even better be like a real reading.
Do you want to read it?
I can. I
Check it
don't
out.
really care.
I haven't read it yet. I'd like to hear it. I say that now.
Do you have a select passage that you would like
have.
the
I'm just
author to
trying to-
read? I feel so good right now.
He's scanning it. He's scanning it, looking for something worthwhile.
I feel important.
I want you to stop. I want you to do this paragraph here,
Okay.
and I want you to stop after that word there.
Okay.
And if anybody's interested, we can keep going. But that's where I'd like to start.
For discussion? Oh.
Oh, yeah.
So start there and stop there. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There you go. Try that.
Okay.
And I read. The reality is much more stark and requires a myriad of local, state, and federal hoops to jump through before you get to that beer sliding bit above. Over the past 12 years of interviewing professional brewers, one common thread appears in the grand sweater of life. The law is stupid.
There you go. Excerpt from JP's forward.
Yeah, very wise.
There you go.
His professional opinion.
Yeah. If you'd like to know more, go to beerlawcenter.com.
It's like alt law.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a grammatical question.
Yes.
For Ry over here.
Okay.
My mic is on. I'm hot.
You're good. Okay.
I took care of it.
Now, this is not me picking you apart because
No.
I think I know the answer. There are two ways to do it, but every time it comes up,
Yes.
I always ask about it because it fascinates me, especially because there are people that take a hard line about whether it should be said this way or whether it should be said that way.
Please do, because I just submitted it, and then the author and the editor had eyes on it before it went to print. So I'm free and clear.
And that's why I think that it's grammatically correct to say it either way.
Okay.
But that bothers me.
Or either way.
Because the two ways are so different that it bothers me that there's two ways.
Okay.
Ry here, of course, the publisher of the Japan Beer Times.
Right.
So I figure we have some authority on that.
Master of English.
We have.
You're right.
Do you have a master in English, or you're just a master of English?
It's actually a PhD in Japanese.
Oh,
but,
okay.
We do a lot of translating and a lot of arguments over grammar.
You got to know your English pretty well to translate.
Yes. But we have a lot of back and forth in the office regarding grammars.
So the question is about the use of the word myriad.
Wow.
Now,
I like this word.
Now, many people, especially younger people, I've found, because back in my day, it was the opposite, and I used to get corrected for it, use, for example, a myriad of things.
There are myriad ways, yes. So
the way I was taught is there are myriad ways. Not even of there. You don't. There's nothing after myriad. You go straight from there are myriad ways to skin a cat.
Either is acceptable.
They are both grammatically
correct.
correct.
I love this word. I was a big William Faulkner nerd growing up, and he uses that word quite a lot. So you get to see him.
How did he use it?
I believed he did not use the indefinite article. He said there are myriad
ways. Yeah. And do you see what I mean by that? It's nobody else cares about this.
There are myriad that we
because
may
they're
drink.
two completely
The
different
beers
ways.
that we may drink are myriad.
Yes, and see the reason I like that way, and it's the way I was taught, is it's actually difficult to use that way. It's difficult to. It doesn't feel right. It feels more right to say there are a myriad of ways rather than.
Beers we may drink are myriad.
Are myriad,
That's an inversion, which is why it's unusual.
Which just sounds strange, but both are technically and grammatically correct. That bothers me.
So how many times today have you used the word?
Just on this show.
Okay.
JP here uses a myriad of a myriad of local, state, and federal hoops.
How many times do you use that word in the book?
Just
could we make
one.
a drinking game out of it every time you see myriad?
Just that one time.
You just should have said shitload, and then he'd leave it like it was.
Fuck ton is what I wanted to say, but it just...
no one would have had to listen to me spout this conversation.
Right. I mean, and I would have checked how to properly use it, but I couldn't fit my head at my ass. So I just decided to just go with it, and if there was a mistake...
Right.
Yeah.
But you properly used it is the point. And that's why I'm saying I didn't bring it up to...
properly enough.
What is a wrong way to use it?
There isn't now, and that's actually what bothers me, is that it was to my knowledge, and of course this is from whatever professors I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the new usage of it would have been the wrong way.
Yeah, you would have got
and
marked down.
What I guess I don't know is, did we adopt the new way because that's how people were using it, or were my professors wrong and it's always been right no matter how you use it? And that
grammar's fluid.
Right. So that's why I feel like it has changed to accept the rules, but there was a time when that usage would have been wrong.
So that grammar is one of those things where if you're wrong enough,
yes,
the rules will change.
Oh, absolutely.
The old definition...
You'd think I would love that.
Is now right.
You'd think that's perfect for me.
The old definition as an adjective has become awkward. For all intents and purposes, it would do you much better to write, I have a myriad of things, instead of, I have a myriad things.
Right. My point exactly. It's awkward to say, but that's also why I like it.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Well, we better move on before we annoy listeners
Or
too
decide
much.
if you're wrong or right.
Yeah.
We'll make a myriad of listeners upset.
Myriad listeners will be upset.
Which just sounds too much like married, and that's just, shitty.
All right, a few things in the feedback here.
That's two.
One's kind of long, but it's. I guess I asked for this.
You asked for it, and I read it, and I was like, wow, there are multiple paragraphs.
I asked last week if you wanted to send me feedback about the Sour Hour, mostly so that I know how the show's doing, because I'm not going to listen to it.
yeah.
So we got some. It's titled Fire Scott, Seriously. And he says, I've been meaning to write in for months. The interesting thing about this, even though that's the title, is that the real perpetrator, if at least from what I skimmed through, ends up being Jay. It's just how it's actually just how Scott encourages Jay. So I've been meaning to write in for months, but your request for feedback on the Sour Hour during the Mother Earth show finally motivated me. He says the Sour Hour is torture. It's the same bad dad jokes overdone and then put on a feedback loop. The Rare Barrels beer is amazing, and Jay has some excellent information to impart. The problem is the best information I've heard Jay impart is when he was on another podcast. So, well, and not that I didn't mean to have to defend Jay or anything. I'm just going to point out little things as they come up. But I wonder if Jay actually probably tries to keep his mouth shut a little more on his own show because he's there to facilitate an interview.
Exactly.
So in some ways it makes sense to me that he would give more of his own information about Rare Barrel. Although, obviously, he infuses his own experience. Yeah. But he says that too much of the show is just wasted by Scott encouraging Jay on his bad jokes, which has created a negative feedback loop of more of the same lame jokes getting repeated. A dad joke can be funny here and there, but not when it's the same 5 ones done every episode. I want to stab my eardrums out.
Aggressive.
What is a dad joke? Neither of them are dads.
I don't know. Like,
dad jokes are just dumb.
I know what he means. Like, if you said it, I could tell you that's a dad joke, right?
Like what kind of shoes do mice who play basketball wear?
Those are dad jokes too.
Squeakers?
Right. Yes,
okay.
That's definitely a dad joke.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling like in the context of the show, it's probably less of like a line and a punchline. And
dad jokes are just inherently lame, and they're supposed to be lame because dads are lame.
Yeah,
I think is the key there.
You're soon to be lame.
Wait, they say there is a soundboard.
There is a soundboard.
You know this?
No, I asked about it on the
asked
last
about
show,
it. Well,
and we didn't
says, know. This guy's... I'm not going to take his word for the gospel, but he says, same format each time, opening, stupid joke, Scott laughing lovingly.
My favorite part about that email is how he just describes Scott as like fawning over Jay. He's really great.
Yeah, and the previous one he's like, then we have to listen to Scott hero worship Jay and his beer. But anyhow, he says they make the same joke they did the last 20 episode. Scott looks into Jay's eyes, lovingly tells him he's a god. Oh, wait, no, all right, here's what I missed. More bad jokes, and then Scott plays with the soundboard. Oh, he's just playing with the mixer is what he's saying. He doesn't actually have a soundboard. So that's good. That's good. Anyhow, it goes on and on.
You asked for it.
Yeah.
Now you're not going to read it. This one is probably better left, to skim.
This would be more for internal use only.
Yeah, a little bit. Redacted.
He says he's on the cusp of unsubscribing from the show.
That's not good.
Well, only one show.
Yeah. He wants me to listen to the past shows to see how terrible it is.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
usually it's the beginning where you get most of it. So.
He thinks I'll feel that way because it's done in the name of the Brewing Network, and then fire Scott. He says,
"Been done."
But you're saying Jay's the one with the joke. I don't know. Anyway, I love the rest of you and all the other shows. He says, even Dr. Homebrew.
Yeah,
from Owen.
That's
all right. Well, thanks
Owen.
Thanks for sending that in. I'll try to listen. We'll see what I can do.
Listen at your lowest point, like whenever you're just super depressed.
Oh God!
Then put that
I feel
on.
Better or worse?
I don't know, but I want to find out.
You're right.
Yeah.
Dude, make sure you are amped up as possible because between the two of them and their just monotone voices,
right?
You'll be asleep.
I struggled with that a lot when they did their live show in Fort Collins because they do that and then they burst out in excited volumes. And I couldn't maintain the levels with a remote setup. Here, we account for that with a lot of equipment. So when they do it in here, it's probably not as bad. But out there, it's driving me fucking insane, man. And the funny thing, I really like Jay's voice in general. But, he certainly can be a little monotone.
A myriad of monotones.
The tones were a myriad of mono
of tones.
Myriad tones. Okay. Let's move on. Mike from Charlotte, North Carolina writes in, great show with Mother Earth Brewing last week.
Mother Earth.
Living in North Carolina, we have our own Mother Earth Brewing that also puts out some decent beers, and it's confusing as fuck to have two completely separate breweries with the same name, and I see they both started around the same time. Would have been nice to get their comment on it, since they're in the southeast, along with the North Carolina brewery. So... he says maybe JP can comment on it now that he's a published author on brewery law.
Right.
Paralegal.
Yeah.
You know, I found that out mid-show, but I didn't want to bring it up in case it was sensitive.
Well, there is something in the... he sent me a link to the Beer Street Journal about a lawsuit. So, see, they wouldn't have commented on it if there's a lawsuit.
Right.
You know what's interesting... I hope I put up the right fucking logo on the website.
You did.
I did?
You put up the one I sent you, which is the one that they sent me.
I didn't.
Oh, dear.
Here's the thing.
Because I didn't like it, and so I found something else that was cooler, and I hope it was theirs. Go look at the website.
Oh, heavens. Okay.
And tell me if I did that right. I mean, I haven't heard from Mother Earth yet, but I mean that's a problem.
Either
and
one.
there you go.
Oh.
Here's the nature of the problem with confusion in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Because I just image searched Mother Earth.
I think one is Mother Earth Brew Co., which was our guest, and the other is Mother Earth Brewing.
Then I think I put up the wrong one.
Oh wow!
No, it's
I guess
totally
we know
correct.
what next week's feedback is going to be about.
I'll fix it. Are you looking it up, Bevo? Slowest typer in the world.
Oh, no, my computer's just... I had to wait.
Oh, yeah, it's the computer.
No, it says Mother Earth Brew Co.
The one I put up?
The one you put up in the logo right in the center says Mother Earth Brew Co. You did good.
I don't believe you. I got to check it.
I can read. Mostly.
And that's the right logo.
Let's just have a look here. So which one? So theirs is...
They are Mother Earth Brew Co. The other one is Mother Earth Brewing.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. Oh.
Thank you.
Phew, that was lucky.
You did great.
A lucky accident.
Yeah. It's a good thing you're the top of the game. You're top of your game.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
I don't know. This article I'm reading says the two breweries have been pissed at each other for years. And then a court trademark battle ended in August. Daniel Love of Mother Earth California states he trademarked his name 30 full days before Mother Earth North Carolina did in 2009. Fast forward to August 22nd, 2011, the trademark case went all the way to the Trademark Supreme Court in Virginia. The case was dismissed with prejudice, a legal way of saying that the case can't be refiled.
Refiled, right. That's what I was just about to explain to you.
Which basically meant that Mother Earth North Carolina lost.
Okay.
And they can't complain about it again.
Right, because it's the Supreme Court.
But it's still being used. Well, actually, this was published back in 2011. So it sounds like they've just decided to not
give a shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
That's interesting. Anyhow, I could have asked about that, I guess, Mike, but half of those questions I asked just fall on deaf ears. People can't talk or won't talk, and then I just look stupid. I'm like, hey, which sucks about my fucking job sometimes. I'll tell you that. This is what I don't like about being pigeonholed into this one topic that we have. I love talking about beer, but, over the years, it'd be nice to, branch out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And whenever something super interesting or relevant comes up that a news agency, that's why people listen or read the news. Like when, if they have gone on 2020, you don't get to go on 2020 unless you talk about the controversial shit.
Right.
Because that's what makes a good show. But I'm telling you, for my entire career, I have had to tiptoe around that bullshit. With very few exceptions, will people come in here and tell us the honest truth. And it's either, sometimes for legal reasons, which is more understanding. Other times it's, we don't want to piss this person off. We don't want to do that. And I'm like, well, but you're telling me it all off the air.
Oh, yeah.
So why be so afraid of the truth? Let's talk about it. Let's give my listeners some fucking juice here.
Well, you got Robin Ottaway on deck from Brooklyn Brewery, and that guy's a straight talker from New York.
Is he?
He's good. I like him.
All right, well, maybe we'll get something out of this. Maybe we'll get somewhere.
We'll finally get somewhere.
After all these years.
Get some dirt.
But I'm just saying, it bothers me too. Mike, whatever your name is, that wrote in. I wish I could ask these questions too, but I just end up looking like, we can't comment on that. All right. Well, get off my show!
Right, don't come on.
What the fuck are you here to do?
Well, they want to talk about their eighth IPA that they've released in the last year. Like, okay, good.
It's a little different.
Yeah. Great.
Go comment somewhere else.
This has 4 ounces extra of hops in the dry hop, and I feel like...
Yeah, they just talk over me like that as I ask an important question. Hey, so what's going on with this trademark
back
issue
to the yeast, I feel like we dropped the yeast cone
but I
out
heard
a little
that,
bit.
You guys
well,
have
the dry hop character really comes through if we dry hop on the...
I just shoot myself in the face. That's what happens.
People would listen to that show.
I know. Don't worry, that's my grand finale. Yeah,
it's not monotone.
It won't be like other businesses that end where there's like a note on even the ones that end abruptly. Sorry, we're closed as of today, or like a bunch of layoffs. Yeah. You guys will fucking know.
We'll make national news.
That's right. All right, Robbo writes in.
Hello, Robbo.
From Queensland. He says, I would like to stick up for the Sour Hour.
Oh, skip.
I thought it a bit odd that you'd all have a crack at Jay and Moscow's broadcast content, and then start on some nonsense argument over some picture on Twitter, and who did or did not email who. Seriously? I'm not a sour brewer, but enjoy the content of the Sour Hour as the morsels of information that I learn on all the shows on the Brewing Network. Right. Anyway, you all generally spout crap, but that's why we listen. I know, but my crap's good. That's my point. Was my crap is better
and loud.
Typically, people like their own brand.
And also, I don't think I was commenting on the content of their show. Listeners have. I was commenting on
we don't listen. So
that the fucking guy doesn't even know how to use a music bed to come back from a break.
It was the production value.
Yeah.
And I think it needs a little more coaching. I'm sure we said the content is fine, but I think it was the jokes that we were asking about, specifically Robbo.
Well, the listener was asking about, not me.
And you said they were making fun of us, thinking that we knew they were making fun of us.
Oh, yeah. Again.
Whereas none of us knew.
A radio faux pas. The rivalry only works if there's a fucking rivalry.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If someone tells a joke in the forest, did it actually happen?
Exactly. If JP tells a joke in the studio, does anybody laugh? It's the same principle.
Right.
Is it funny?
Is it funny? Yeah.
Inherently, no.
Is it ever?
Wow.
Whoa.
Shut
From
up.
behind the glass.
Beverly. Hope that crock pot falls on you.
Oh, that's right. We're having crock pot for dinner.
Yeah, Bevo crock potted
What?
us.
Yeah, supposedly it's Philly cheesesteak.
You know what?
Have you ever been to Philly and they go, yeah, hold on, let me get your cheesesteak out of the crock pot?
Let me dish it out of the crock
Let
pot.
me scoop it out of this crock pot.
Fuck, she would make a lager and ferment it at 65 degrees. That's what she would do. And
The
then call it a
bread's
lager.
going to be so soggy.
Oh, the bread's in the crock pot?
Oh, man.
There's like 8 sandwiches just in the crock pot that have been there since 8 a.m.
Eventually, I knew that this was going to happen and you were going to make fun of me.
Yeah,
and literally, you guys are the worst. I made you a meal. I went to the grocery store this morning. I prepared food to feed you to save the Brewing Network money, and so we all didn't have heart attacks from eating cheese pizza all the time.
Yeah, but no one asked you
Suck
to.
my balls.
She bought the hardest sourdough rolls you could find.
I did.
She was like, well, it's going to be in there for 8 hours. I bet if I buy the hard roll.
I didn't put the bread in the crock pot, dummy.
I'd be surprised if she even had sourdough rolls. I'm expecting hot dog buns.
Wonder Bread.
Right?
Well, just saying, when we would come home and my boys would look at the crock pot going, they would just and just cower.
No, they don't like the crock pot.
No, man.
Yeah.
It's like, the dog sees the switch coming. It just cowers down.
I love the crock pot. Thank you, Bevo. I'm sure
Whatever.
it'll be great. I ate already, but I'm sure it'll be great.
It'll be a meal.
All right.
How can we know pleasure if we haven't experienced pain yet? That's what I want to know.
Okay.
Skippaline's pizza is going to taste amazing
I hope you all
after this.
get diarrhea. Like, I hope it has some sort of parasite.
expecting that.
And you
Yeah,
all
right.
get
You have control
horrible
over
diarrhea.
that.
Exactly. That could happen.
I'm expecting
We
this.
haven't had it yet. You can still do
JP, I
it.
like my pleasure first.
Maybe all of the Brewing Network shouldn't eat the same meal every time. One of us has to
right.
survive. It's got like the president on the plane, right? You can't
Yeah.
all be on the same plane. Him and the VP. So one of us should sit this meal out, I feel like.
Who's the lucky one?
Well, that might be like a little straw thing at the end.
Straws for who has to eat it.
Well, there's only probably one short straw, and that's the lucky one.
All right.
Order your own damn food.
Thank you, Beaver.
Thanks, Beaver. All right, so Dave writes in, here's some more Sour Hour feedback. I've come to regard the running jokes in the Sour Hour in the same way I do bad acting in porn. I know soon enough she'll open the pizza box to find a dick inside and get to the action. Jay's incredibly passionate about sour beer and does great interviews, but I do find the running jokes to be cringy. I have to hear what these running jokes are.
Well, they're funny to those two, but nobody else.
Oh, and Dave does confirm they have not used the soundboard. They don't have a soundboard, according to Dave. So, here's one from Matt about JP jokes. I just wanted to say that I thought JP's 10 forward joke was funny. I lulled JP. Your dad home game is strong.
Thanks.
Well done.
Apparently I have a dad joke. Yeah, I don't remember that.
I don't either.
When you just, when you hit so many home runs, it's hard to keep track of them all. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys don't know what I mean,
You
but
lose
I know
the
what
fire,
I mean.
in the middle of all that.
Right. It ceases to mean anything at this point. It's just going to work.
It's just you know what, knock it out of the park every time.
Well, thank you.
Here's a little more insight into the Sour Hour from Jeff. Good morning, Brewcasters. I'm just catching up on last night's session on my drive to work, and I've got a little feedback about the Sour Hour. The banter that Jay and Scott often have about the session and talking to a non-existent Bevo is understood by listeners and an entertaining part of the show. Similar to the sessions Shut the F Up, Beardy, and Justin's Feet, which new listeners wouldn't have a clue about unless they were around for a while. But I enjoy all shows on the BN, including that other show. So my only concern is that one specific professional brewer is too important to continue broadcasting a show that is named after himself. Oh, I guess he's talking about Jamil.
Mm-hmm.
None of that is true.
That whole email's a lie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, none of the none of the Jamil rumors are true.
Signed, Angry Jamil.
More Sour Hour feedback. Let me see if it's just the same.
I mean, I think the joke thing, like with the feet, it's like, every show has jokes, and then they run their course, and that's it. You don't beat them to death on every single show, and it sounds like that's what they do on the Sour Hour.
I don't know,
they
guys.
Beat it to every single joke.
Talked about Chechnya recently?
No. That arced.
Good months.
Yeah. Thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, that ship sailed.
Let it go, Bevo.
It's more of the same in that one, so I'll skip that.
What? You're going to skip it?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same shit.
Right.
Hey guys, thanks for doing a homebrew episode and talking to Russian River. It felt so much like old times. I started drinking double IPAs and feeling optimistic about the future.
That's too bad.
Huh.
He says, I want to give a shout out to Jamil. A couple weeks ago, I was going to brew on a Saturday, and I sent a question about starters to Jamil on a Friday night. By the next morning, Jamil had given me a thorough answer to my question, even though GABF was only a couple weeks away and he's running a successful brewery. He still takes time to help us homebrewers out. Thanks for all you do. It's a hell of a service to the community. That's Justin from Eugene. And finally, JP writes in.
It's not me. I don't know.
It's a different JP.
Yeah.
I've never listened to the Sour Hour. I'm sure it exists, but can we please put the comics page back up in the men's bathroom at the bar?
Different JP, of course.
I miss having something to laugh at besides my neighbor's tiny balls. This clearly was our JP. Nobody who goes to the HG wants to read anything in the Wall Street Journal.
I've heard this before.
There's two JPs that are for
I heard this live.
I agree with this man.
And my balls are barely under average.
I think we switched to the Wall Street Journal because the other newspaper, after repeated tries, could not figure out how to deliver the paper to us. And so Scott got annoyed after 100 phone calls and decided we'll just switch.
Just put up something nobody wants to read. While they're peeing.
Right. So that's why you have the Wall Street Journal now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Another long first segment. Let's get ourselves to a break. Don't forget about Beersmith homebrewing software. You can go to beersmith.com, check it out, get a free 21-day trial of the software. You won't regret it. You don't have to take my word for it because you can get your money back. Or no, you don't even spend your money. You just get your free trial and then it expires after 21 days unless you love it, which you will. There's a podcast, video tutorials, and more things than you will know what to do with the Beersmith homebrewing software. Go check it out over at beersmith.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ry Beville is back in the studio, and we're going to be talking about the Asian beer conglomerates buying up all of America.
What's
Well, not exactly that, but close. Hang in there. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs, pure yeast and fermentation since 1995.
The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
Do you like beer? They make beer.
Watch out!
Do you like friends and fun? They make friends and fun.
Watch out!
Do you still like to have a good time? The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
The 21st Amendment in San Francisco, located at 563 2nd Street, 2 blocks from the building where baseball is seen and played. Try their beers in the pub or try them in the can, featuring Monk's Blood. Made with real monk.
Watch out!
So why not have the best time of your life? Go to the 21A and Sean O'Sullivan will personally greet you with a can of
Monk's Blood.
The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
This advertisement is not in any way affiliated nor associated with the 21st Amendment Bar and Pub, nor its subsidiaries or affiliates. This telecast is not copywritten by the 21st Amendment for the private use of the Brewing Network. Any use of this telecast without Jamil Zainashev's consent is prohibited. Suck it, JP.
Brewing great beer is a process of continuous learning, and the best books on every aspect of brewing can be found at Brewers Publications, with more than 50 awesome titles like Modern Homebrew Recipes by Gordon Strong, Designing Great Beers, the Ultimate Guide to Brewing Classic Beer Styles by Ray Daniels, American Sour Beers, Innovative Techniques for Mixed Fermentations by Michael Tonsmeyer, For the Love of Hops, The Practical Guide to Aroma, Bitterness, and the Culture of Hops by Stan Hieronymus, and Radical Brewing, Recipes, Tales, and World-Altering Meditations in a Glass by Randy Mosher, plus many, many more. These are the books and the authors with the knowledge to push your brewing farther than you thought possible. And you'll find them all at fine homebrew and book retailers everywhere. And visit the website at brewerspublications.com. Brewers Publications, all the best on beer and brewing.
Marin Brewing Company in Northern California has been making award-winning beers for more than 25 freaking years. Today, I want to tell you about their new 12-ounce cans of Mount Tam Pale Ale. The good stuff, Mount Tam is bright gold, 5.5% ABV to keep you feeling good, and has been winning awards since 1989. If you're visiting the Bay Area, get your butt out to Marin Brewing Company. They pour tasty beers and serve great food every day until midnight. Come in for a tour, stay for the food, and pick up a 6-pack of cans of Mount Tam Pale Ale to enjoy at home, camping, biking, or whatever the hell you do. Owner Brendan Moylan has this to say about Marin Brewing beers.
It's freaking awesome.
Marin Brewing has won more than 100 gold medals in international competitions. Check out marinbrewing.com for all their award-winning beers, food, and merch. Marin Brewing Company in Larkspur, California. Award-winning taste, refreshing finish. It's freaking awesome.
Hey, this is Julian Trego from Beechwood Brewing, and you are listening to The Session on the Brewing Network.
All right, welcome back to the program, and thank you so much for sticking with us. We got a lot to do today. Just want to remind you about our friends over at Great Fermentations. Great Fermentations has the largest catalog of Blickman products on the web, and their staff is some of the best trained in the business in using Blickman products. They have top-notch customer service and same-day shipping on many items. Check them out at greatfermentations.com, and you can like them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GR8 Fermentation. So do all that, and thank Great Fermentations congratulations for supporting this program. All right, we are back with Ry from the Japan Beer Times, and we're going to be talking, as I mentioned, about Asian breweries getting involved in American craft beer. Of course, we've been talking for quite some time about different large beer conglomerates buying American craft beer, and it's just come up a little more recently that this is also happening with some of the larger Asian breweries. So, Ry, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me again.
And along with Ry, a great surprise for us. I'm really excited that Ry helped us put this together, too. We've got the president of Brooklyn Brewery on with us. Robin Ottaway should be on the line, too. Robin, are you there?
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for joining us at the last minute. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We've had Garrett on the show a few times, actually. Always had a good time with your brewmaster, Garrett Oliver. So a pleasure to be talking to more of the company. Although I might make fun of you just as much as I do, Garrett, as the show goes on, just so you know, Robin.
You know, Garrett's not the easiest guy in the world to follow up after, but I'll do my best. So.
You'll do fine. I will admit I offered him his own show on the Brewing Network after his appearance. He's so good. Of course, really I never followed up on him. He's a busy man. So.
I have the pleasure of sitting very close to Garrett, about as close as you can get, and I do not need to hear any more of him than I do, as much as I love him.
Understood. So I just want to remind listeners a little bit, we had Ry on the show a couple years ago, the publisher of the Japan Beer Times. And how long have you been doing that magazine now?
It'll be 8 years with our upcoming issue.
Okay. Oh, see, you've been at it. Good for you. Congratulations. And you still, you of course, live in Berkeley here in California, but spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
You do.
Still
okay.
have my main office in Yokohama.
You do.
And,
okay.
Do the back and forth. I've got a very solid team in Japan running the show. Very responsible drinkers over there, drinking and working.
Got it.
Responsible,
as you should.
Managing to keep the business together.
As long as that's happening.
Yeah, that's right. That's all you need, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Some responsible people.
That's right.
A myriad.
And listeners might remember that our very own Beardy once graced the cover of a Japan Beer Times.
It was a faux cover.
A fake cover.
Yeah. It was the Man Beer Times.
Right.
In his underwear.
Right.
I'm
first
telling
issue.
You, I think I told you this back then. I still adamantly believe this. Had you actually put that thing on the cover, his beard, you would have sold some magazines, man. People would have liked it.
It was funny because we posted that just for the listeners. It was a picture of Beardy in his underwear doing a very sexy pose,
right?
And we did a mock cover that said Man Beer Times instead of Japan Beer Times, and we put it out on social media.
Yeah,
and there were quite a lot of people in Japan who thought that was the actual cover.
Yeah,
and it got at that time it had the most likes of any posting we'd ever done on Facebook.
Right.
And then, of course, there were, people that were just incensed.
Of course.
Why would you do that to your sponsors?
Yeah, I get asked that all the time.
Because they wanted to sell magazines.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
I guess the problem is you have nothing to do with Japanese beer, so we could have put you on the cover, but for no reason.
Yeah.
Or
sex.
In other words, you're just as useless to Ry as you are to us.
Well, they did call me fat on the cover also.
They did?
I forget, like hairy, fat, unsexy brewer.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All of those are true.
Okay, you were mostly naked.
Yeah. Honesty and journalism.
Yeah. It cut. Cut real deep.
He's been on a diet ever since. That's not working.
A shame diet.
I eat cardboard.
All right.
Shame diet.
So that's Ry. And we wanted to talk a little bit about different acquisitions that are happening. And not just that, but kind of get more of an insight into the Asian beer market and how sort of the same trend of partnering with, purchasing, all the different ways that American craft brewers are getting bought or partnered with.
And just some context for why this should matter to us. Of course, Sapporo recently bought Anchor Steam. As Robin will tell us, Kirin has a pretty strong partnership with Brooklyn Brewery. Japan is one of the largest export markets for American craft beer, according to the Brewers Association Export Development Program.
Okay.
So this is definitely a market we should care about. Kirin, Sapporo, Asahi, Suntory. I mean, these are major brands with a lot of money that could be, sniffing out their next purchase in America. So it's definitely
Like the Brewing Network?
Like the Brewing Network.
Yeah.
Oh, we're for sale, Robin.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
All of us.
We're good friends with Sully. It'll be great.
All right. Well, why don't we start with Brooklyn and then kind of that's a good timeline we can follow here with Robin because there's some newer developments as well. And so, Robin, maybe you could give us just a little background when you got involved with Kirin, how they got involved, and even why from your standpoint.
I mean, I guess I'll speak first for, ourselves for Brooklyn Brewery. Going back, oh gosh, it's probably, I keep saying a year or two ago, and now it's longer than that. I'd say it's about 2 or 3 years ago when the landscape started to change, and I don't claim to be a historian, so I will speak in general terms. But what I mean by the landscape changing is all of a sudden the big guys showed up, private equity showed up. We were coming off of the golden years of craft when everyone was growing, exponentially, and we were smart and sexy and pretty and all the things that we aren't quite as much as we used to be now. But, we were the shiny thing, and a lot of us, were being approached, and probably like a lot of people, we did our due diligence, meaning we didn't speak to everyone, but we certainly spoke to anyone who we thought were relevant players, partly just to find out what they were doing and if the landscape was going to change.
Sure.
Also, our experience, we've had a long-term distribution relationship with Carlsberg in Europe, and our experience in overseas markets where you do not have an independent middle tier, really gives the bigger guys much more, kind of control and influence on the market. So we understood the importance of aligning with the bigger breweries overseas in order to simply to get access to market. So combine that with the fact that we wanted to maintain control of our company, and not all the suitors were interested in that kind of a relationship.
Oh,
and
I bet.
Understandably, for some of the valuations that people are paying, they wanted to have control, and and that's fine. But it was not our preference, and we were able to find a good partner that. We were looking for a strategic investor, and we found a good one in Kirin, in that they were willing to, leave us in control, to have in Japan and also in some other markets, but particularly Japan, they have, tremendous access to market. And, we dated and we liked each other, and here we are. So.
Got it. Well, and let's back up to the middle there, too, because I'm glad you mentioned your distribution in Europe even before this. And that's something I noticed as early as, I want to say 2003 or 4 was the first time I traveled in Europe, and I remember seeing Brooklyn Brewery there. And still today, I find your beer in more parts of the world than most. There are a few other breweries on that list. I see Rogue in a lot of places. I see, of course, Sierra Nevada. But, for years, I've really seen Brooklyn, and I've had 2 thoughts about that I just wonder you could comment on. One was it's obviously a strategic move on your part to, potentially sell more beer. But the other thought I've always had is that it's a marketing bonus for you guys. The Brooklyn brand is the city of Brooklyn, let me just say, is a worldwide phenomenon. I don't know why exactly. It's just one of those cultural things. People love the word. They love the idea of Brooklyn.
You can thank the Wu-Tang Clan.
So,
absolutely.
Music, exactly.
You can thank a lot of important cultural figures for that.
Right.
No, I'd say, there are a bunch of different things there. First of all, the whole Brooklyn thing, there's no question that Brooklyn, I think to me, at least globally, it represents all the positive aspects of America and this kind of urban creative culture, and none of the negative aspects of America, without getting political on a beer show.
That's all right.
So, and then you go back to all sorts of movies, and Brooklyn is definitely a mythical place. I can tell you that when Steve Hindy and Tom Potter founded Brooklyn, coming up on 30 years ago, it wasn't an obvious choice because Brooklyn wasn't cool back then.
Okay.
And it's become cool, and we've certainly benefited from that, just like we've benefited, also just the rise of American craft beer globally.
Sure.
I think the other thing too is all of us have very international backgrounds. I mean, Steve Hindy learning about beer in the Middle East. A colleague of his was my father, who was working for the Washington Post in the Middle East, and that's how ultimately we got, or at least initially, and ultimately got connected there. Garrett, you had him on the show. I'm sure he's spoken about his international background. So, a lot of us have, pretty international backgrounds. My brother and I are dual Italian and American citizens. Our mother's Italian, and we spent a lot of time in Europe and Africa growing up. So, again, I think we were predisposed to it. So it's kind of a confluence of all these different events. And then specifically with Carlsberg, frankly, they just came to us. They gave Garrett an award in, 2003 or 4, the Semper Ardens Award, recognizing people who've done, good work in beer.
Wow.
And that's kind of how we got connected, and they started distributing us. And I don't think we ever saw it as like a marketing thing, like, hey, we're gonna say that we're gonna sell internationally just so we can say that here. I don't think we ever saw it that way. But it's turned into 50% of our business, so it's turned into a big chunk of who we are. And, I guess like with everyone, you start something and then opportunities present themselves and you follow those paths. And so here we are. And,
sure.
We're quite fortunate. Again, I think there's no question that Brooklyn's a good name in regards to going away from home.
Was it 50% of your business export before Kirin, like with the Carlsbad distribution too? Or
Wow. I mean, the Kirin thing's relatively recent, so the trends really haven't changed anything since then. So the Kirin thing only actually happened earlier this year. It got announced at the end of last year, but so we've only been working with them together in Japan, for example, since April. So it's really very recent.
I see.
Robin, do you have any expectations for Japan that you can share? I mean, this is the world's third largest economy.
I mean, the biggest thing, biggest thing is that the market's got to grow. I mean, Japan's always had a good craft beer presence and certainly a leadership position in Asia. However, it's still quite small, and like the rest of Asia, I don't think anyone's much above 1% market share. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what my expectations are. If we don't get that market share growing, like it has in the U.S., then none of us are going to get anywhere. And I think that's really the relevance of the big guys, not only in Asia, but in other parts of the world, embracing craft. And I'm not commenting on the U.S. here because, again, the U.S. has a very different market structure. But overseas, it's the big guys getting into craft that's really going to give, the opportunity for the whole segment to grow.
And Japan, obviously not the only populous location there, is part of the plan to be able to move more beer into China easily, which is, I'm told, a lot of people talk about like that is the next just enormous beer market.
Beer and wine.
And it's a population game, really.
Yeah.
So is that the plan with being brewed in Japan as well, just access to other markets?
I mean, not necessarily. We've already been in those other markets for a long time too, and Kirin doesn't really have a presence, at least specifically in China. So it's not. In some cases, if you have a presence in the big cities, I'm sure there's a fair amount of mixing and all that. But it's probably not necessarily. If you make it happen in Japan, that's not necessarily a springboard to anywhere else. I think you really, you tackle each one as an individual market. That, I mean, China's so big, it's like, even within China, there's multiple huge markets. I mean, Shanghai alone is 30 million people. That's bigger than most countries in the world. So,
right. That's just crazy.
I was
the numbers there
in
scary.
Shanghai, interestingly, in the spring, enjoying a Brooklyn lager in Shanghai, and and it was their equivalent of the the Brewers Association has their annual expo.
Yeah,
and it was China's equivalent, and the brewer gave this amazing speech, and I asked him, "So you sell most of your beer locally?" And he looked at me funny and he said, "Well, yeah, I've got 300 million people who live locally." And it's just like, just the whole scale of China is incredible. And Japan's equivalent economy, but just the scale, it's kind of
it's small
very different
in that sense. Okay, but it sounds like if Robin's saying it's still everybody's less than 1%, which is when when the Brewing Network started, that's what craft beer was here in America. So there's tons of room for growth that we're seeing.
I mean, Japan's still an incredible beer consumer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 130 million people. And yes, the society is aging, and you hear all these horror stories about the demographics, but it still consumes quite a lot of beer.
Okay.
And, the craft brewing industry has been around for a little more than 20 years, and it's just been kind of chugging along, and it's been about 1%. But recently, the last 2 years, you could see it start to take off. It start, to spill into the mainstream. And Kirin and some of these large players said, we ought to get in on this now rather than what happened in America, where suddenly craft brew exploded. And I feel like a lot of the big breweries,
a little bit of playing catch up.
They started playing catch up. So it's interesting what Robin said, where you kind of need these players, the big breweries, to grow
beer.
that market share. And that's the controversial point in Japan.
Do
we really need big breweries to grow the market share? I mean, the small breweries have been doing a pretty good job the last 20 years popularizing craft beer, and that's the big controversial point. Robin's other good point is access to market. It's incredibly difficult in Japan, and by partnering with Kirin, they can get into the grocery stores, they can get into the convenience stores, which are on every corner in Japan.
Whereas you can't as an independent brewer right now?
It's difficult.
Just
Very
difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that makes sense because...
Well, even large parts, all the high-volume accounts globally are tied up perfectly legally, mind you, with contracts with big brewers. That's just simply how it works. And I know that may sound odd to us in America with the independent middle tier, and thank God for that. And that's, you want to know why America's at 15% of volume and 20% of value in craft, or whatever exactly the numbers are. It's the fact that we have a different market structure.
Right.
So, we have a lot more independence here, and obviously, there's all that real estate, quote unquote, is not, legally tied up.
Sure.
So you mean Prohibition actually helped to do something?
Yep. that's
Damn it.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, yeah,
right.
maybe.
Yeah, well, it gave us the Kennedys, and it gave us a 3-tier system. So,
great.
Well, and so it's an excellent point about just market share and being able to get beer out there. It's a little saddening to hear in some ways if you're saying that for 20 years the little craft breweries have been plugging along, but the only real way to break through because of the legal system is to bring on big breweries. And now, of course, you get into the discussion of, well, depending on how the big breweries are involved, is it craft beer? So Brooklyn, Robin, you guys made the choice to only sell enough of the company so that you still fall under the Brewers Association definition of ownership. You kept control of your brewery. You make the beer you want to make. And so to me, that's a no-brainer. We're a craft brewery. But as we get into, a full buyout and so on, if they're using the words craft beer, and are we then truly seeing craft beer growth, I guess is what I would ask. I'm curious what either one of you think about that.
This is where it gets really difficult. In Japan, there is no industry definition of craft beer. The Brewers Association, it's controversial, their definition of craft beer, but I think that ultimately it was a positive thing that they came together craft breweries came together as a trade organization to define craft beer and say we will work as a convoy to protect what it is that we do, which is craft beer.
Yeah.
In Japan, the breweries went 20 years without doing that, and then suddenly Kirin jumps in, Asahi jumps in, all these big breweries jump in. So we're going to make craft beer. Well, by that time it was too late. There was nothing anyone could do to say, well, wait, no, that's not craft beer. I mean,
yeah. But did they jump in and make craft beer, or did they jump in and bought craft breweries like that's happening
here?
They
did both. So
okay, because we tried that here too, by the way, right? Anheuser-Busch for years tried to make craft beer.
Oh yeah,
and
it was terrible.
There's a couple of exceptions. It depends on how you consider it. Some of their experiments were successful. Blue Moon right? That was a dabble in like, we got to make some craft beer. Let's try this. That one worked. Even the Shock Top or whatever.
Shock Top's still a thing.
But when they tried to do like the Green Lakes Brewery Pale Ale, they failed miserably.
Or the Budweiser Amber, even just straight up.
Yeah.
Calling it that, not hiding under like the Green Lakes, like you said.
Right. So
there was Sierra Ridge too.
Yeah, I remember that, and that's I don't know if it was Greece. That might have been
Kirin.
the one.
I mean, this is how it all started. Kirin about 3 years ago just said, "Hey, we're going to launch a craft brewery," and everyone's like, "Well, you can't because you're microbrewery." They're like, "No, we can't. It's a small brewery."
Oh, okay.
And they launched the equivalent of microbrewery. It's beautiful. I mean, Robin and I have been there.
Oh, cool.
And they do pretty decent beer.
Okay.
And they have another one on their Kirin campus, and then they opened another one in Kyoto recently. So they've got these 3 micro breweries that are doing what I guess you could call craft beer, depending, in Japan's context where there is no definition.
And do they only sell those beers on premise?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as
so they're like kind of the
and online.
Online.
And online. Oh,
you can buy beer over the internet in Japan. It's
actually they've just started limited draft distribution too, but definitely limited, and they don't seem to be in any big hurry to roll it out in a larger way.
Okay.
I expect if you buy craft beer over the internet in Japan, a robot of your waifu like comes and delivers it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like here's a truck with a box.
No.
It needs to be some sort of robotic delivery system.
Hello, Mr. Ry.
But it's pretty amazing. I mean, there's never been. It seems like the Wild West to people in America that you can go online and you can go to your favorite brewery and they have an online site. You can say, "Ship me a case of beer."
Yeah.
It arrives at your door.
Huh. Right.
You would think
what a time to be alive, man.
I love this.
But it's been that way for
there's very little access for the small. It's always like this. There's very little access for the small brewery to put their beer on the shelf.
Right.
But you can order everything in the world online.
Exactly. But
so how much does the shelf space matter? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It means a lot. And
for growth.
The chief economist at Brewers Association, Bart Watson, did an interesting study about who's doing the beer buying. And it's probably very similar in America to Japan. I mean, the housewives are going out and they're buying the beer. They're the ones going to the supermarket or the convenience store and buying the beer. So obviously, Kirin and a lot of these big companies are going to be targeting that demographic very heavily, and they're going to be controlling that shelf space as much as they can. And it's very, very hard for craft breweries to get into the supermarkets, to get into the convenience stores. It's extremely difficult.
So,
and I mean to service them is very difficult.
That's another
to get even to make enough beer to get the broad distribution. Also, don't forget. I mean, we're talking primarily about off premise, but in a lot of other countries, particularly Japan, on premise is a much bigger percentage of the total business than it is in the U.S. And therefore, the on-premise consumption is hugely important, and that's where the big guys have a huge advantage for any number of reasons. But again, starting with the contracts, and you can it's easy to knock the contracts, but for example, the contracts act as financing for the accounts in a lot of cases. And it varies from country to country, but in some countries a bank doesn't give you financing for a bar. The only people who do are the breweries. So it's just a completely different system. I guess one thing I'd say is the system in each country is going to be what it is, and unlikely as outsiders we're going to do anything to change that. I think I think the in these markets where the big guys have more influence, if they are pushing craft beer and they are introducing consumers to craft beer and it directly or indirectly educating people and bringing awareness to craft beer, that's going to create a lot of opportunities for a lot more breweries. Okay, and maybe they won't have broad access, but the majority of breweries in the U.S. aren't actually distributing and don't need broad access to have successful businesses. They're relying essentially on neighborhoods or towns or relatively small geographic areas. So
sure,
I think there's many different layers to this discussion and a lot of complex issues involved. And of course, it's very different in different markets just because of these structures of how the beer system works.
What would you say the percentage of kind of these like tied houses are in Japan? If you go or just walking down the street and you see a bunch of bars, how many of them are contracted with the breweries where the macro breweries?
Oh gosh, almost all of them.
Really? Almost all.
So here, the thing to remember is the craft brewing industry started 20 years ago. I mean, it's not a lot of time, and there, 8 years ago when I started my magazine, there were a few dozen specialty craft beer bars that said, we don't want anything to do with the big breweries. We're going to launch our own places. We're going to have our own tap systems. But that's, even now, there's maybe, 1,000, 1,500 dedicated craft beer bars.
Okay.
I mean, that's not a lot in a country of 130
in the whole
million
country.
people.
Wow.
And what's interesting is that, Japan's a small place. It's real estate's expensive. Most of the bars are as big as this studio, which is 15 feet by 10.
Sure.
And there's no walk-in, refrigerators. There's no refrigerated kegs. It's really hard to do that in a small bar.
Yeah.
And so Kirin and Asahi and Sapporo and these guys, they provide the flash cooler. So there's a kind of infrastructure problem as well for craft beer getting into most of these tiny bars and restaurants around Japan.
Well, that doesn't sound like a very expensive build-out. Why can't just, two Japanese college students open up a bar with 20 taps and only do independent beer?
I mean, it's happening more and more, but you figure it's 20 years is not a lot of time.
Well,
so you've got most of the legacy businesses that have been serving the big three, and you've got these salarymen, as you've seen, with limited budgets going into these bars and pounding.
Yeah,
beers.
it's hard
And
to
then
say no
suddenly-
to at that point.
So Kirin actually
give free beer and
also,
everything.
you guys, you also got to remember that in America we have this love for the underdog, and kind of particularly. I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that craft beer flourished after the meltdown in 2008 and people really getting frustrated with just big.
Yeah.
But in a lot of other countries, small isn't necessarily prized in the same way, and consumers have a different relationship with big. And the other thing too in Japan specifically is you don't really, we're used to kind of a duopoly system over here with big brewers. Maybe it's 3 now, but over there you got 4 players who are battling, going at it. And essentially, I mean, frankly, they've been battling over price for years and trying to figure out how to make beer as cheaply as possible, and that's been bad for beer. And then, over time, beer slows down and it doesn't grow, and there's no value in it because they've been pricing it away. And, some of this is also economically driven for big brewers, right? I mean, what has gone up, beer pricing has gone up, and they're realizing that they're not just going to have it, the future world isn't about people guzzling cheap beer. That's a tough way to make a living. And so things are changing. I mean, they're responding to consumer demand and different, changing consumer habits.
Sure.
I think there'll be more opportunities for everyone. And, just even as there's more awareness of beer in general and craft beer in general, the example one of you guys gave of the 2 college kids starting up a tap house, well, that's gonna happen more and more. So there will be more opportunities. I have no doubt about it.
And, one thing that Kirin did that was very, very clever, they looked at that infrastructure problem. They said, well, we've got these tiny places. They can't do a walk-in system. They can't even refrigerate a keg, with a system, like most bars in America have. So they developed this new system. I think the word is like craft marché, where they developed these tiny systems that can fit on the counter of a izakaya or these little, grilled chicken bars. They're tiny, and they have these 1 liter, 2 liter.
It's a unit that has 4 3-liter PET kegs that can be, swapped out. So you can imagine, 3-liter bottle is tiny.
Right. Yeah. So I guess they just
they're able
service
to
it every
offer
day.
variety. There's 4 brands, 4 breweries that they offer. One is their own Spring Valley. The other is, Brooklyn, and then Yahoo Brewing, which they also, I think they own 30% of them. And then the last one is Hitachino, that they have no ownership stake at all, and they're just, they're representing them as a third party and making them available to consumers. So, you could look at that and say, all right, well, if Yahoo and Brooklyn are independent and Hitachino's, 100, independent by anyone's definition.
Yeah.
There's an example where big guys in their own economic interests are bringing, craft beer. I think by anyone's definition, that counts as real craft beer. And so, there's an example of a positive,
It's
for
certainly not a
everyone.
tight house, that's for sure, when you're bringing the other guy's beer, yeah.
And but just to illustrate what this means, they built these systems to go into the small eateries and bars in Japan. I mean, that's in the equivalent of America. It would be like somebody, pushing Lagunitas, Sierra Nevada, a lot of the big players, into every single McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger
Right.
King. He'd be going into those places a lot more,
Wow.
just to introduce your average citizen to craft beer. So it was a brilliant move by Kirin, I think. And it'll certainly introduce people to craft beer, but it raises a lot of other issues, obviously.
Sure.
Kirin's in control of that access to market, and then, all the other craft beers, like, well, we built the popularity of craft beer, and now suddenly...
Well, that's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? In any industry, it sucks for you for being first. That's just always how it's going to be. And by the way, I'm not saying that's awesome. I'm just saying that's every industry, really.
Yeah, good thing Amazon doesn't do on-premise. That's on.
Or a podcast.
Reality is what it is.
Right.
Well, the Amazon wine, for example, they killed Amazon wine because they bought Whole Foods. So in a way, they are doing on-premise now because now they bought that infrastructure. I wonder if it's even fair.
Yeah, the other reason why they did is FedEx and UPS have announced starting in January they're not going to be shipping beer, or shipping wine anymore. So that also has a big factor.
That's probably more of it.
A lot of delivery businesses.
And now technically Amazon is in making beer because Whole Foods had 2 breweries on site. So now Amazon is in the beer business.
Great.
God bless him.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's almost, air quote, fair to compare the Japanese market with the American market, because it sounds like they're set up entirely differently. They're completely different animals. So I don't know, I was thinking early on, can you say that the Japanese market is behind the American market by X number of years? Like we've said that about Australian homebrewing early on in the shows, right? They're 10 years beyond because you can still buy the kit and kilo kits at the, Kroger's or Safeway or whatever, but we don't do that here. Is that fundamentally incorrect to compare the American market to the Japanese market because they're just different animals?
It's a totally different battle, yeah.
What do you think, Robin?
I think the overall fundamentals are there. Consumers want more flavor. It's not just American consumers that want more flavor. Everyone wants more flavor. A perfect example of that is, talking to some guys that deal with it, Kirin, who have kids at school, and they said when they were growing up, all they got at school was Japanese food, and now their kids are getting, guess what? They're getting the exact same stuff our kids are getting pizza and all that wonderfully mass-produced food. No, I'm joking. But so they're getting exposed to different flavors, just like our kids are getting raised with soy sauce and ponzu and whatever, all sorts of different things that are no longer considered exotic in their diet. So that I think there's a lot of things in common there. I think the overall, that beer isn't, on a mass level, it's not growing as fast anymore, and so that, consumers want something different. They want more flavor. Look at wine. Look at spirits. Look at cocktails. So I think, I think there are similarities in the market, and then you have structures that then affect, how quickly these changes happen or exactly, how they take effect in different markets. But we always look at it as just kind of like a timeline, and obviously, you kind of measure it off of our timeline, and meaning the U.S. market, because we're really the instigators of at least modern craft beer. Obviously, it existed in other forms in the past, but, craft beer as we know it is clearly an American thing. We've got the longest timeline. And every other country is going to do it faster than we do, and some markets are going to do it a lot quicker, depending on market conditions. Korea is a super dynamic place, and things change very quickly there, and that's a market that's changed completely. Hong Kong, I was in Hong Kong in 2014, and there was one brewery in 2014, and now there's 20 plus just in 3 years.
Yeah.
So these people could, these markets are super dynamic. There's tons of money. There's tons of, young people who've traveled the world and been exposed to American craft beer and beer all over the world. So that, you can compare markets, but I think, we may be ahead, but I think other people are moving down the timelines, in some cases faster than we did.
Sure. I drank Brooklyn beer in Hong Kong, as a matter of fact, and it was your logo out front that brought me into the bar because I just knew I was looking for. I knew that there were craft beer bars in Hong Kong. I was not quite with my friend that day who could tell me where to go. It was one of my loner days. Walked by this place, saw a Brooklyn neon sign, and I was like, craft beer is going to be in there. And they did have several craft beers. I went with the Brooklyn, Robin, just so you know.
How'd the beer taste?
Good man, thank you.
You know what? It tasted tasted fine.
Yeah?
I think it did. So I have a rule about, and it's going to sound counterintuitive, actually. I will actually buy out of bottles more often when I'm traveling, even though the keg would generally maybe last the distance a little bit better. It's the draft systems in the bars I'm more concerned about.
Sure.
The standards and procedures.
It's good instinct, and it's because of the cold, the cold chain. So we can get the beer, we ship reefer, we can get it there cold.
Okay.
But, beers, particularly unpasteurized beers, there's no storage. Like Ry explained that earlier. These are tiny. In a lot of cases, they're small. Depending on the market. I mean, Hong Kong makes New York look cheap in terms of retail rents, and I'm not even kidding. It's like 2-3 times more expensive than New York City.
Wow.
So they don't have any space for a cold box. And also beer is pasteurized everywhere else in the world, even the big breweries. It's only in America that we have this whole supply chain, including retail, where everything is cold. So that there's another obstacle, mind you, to in terms of how to go to market for craft beer. And I touched on it earlier, but you've got literally a different way that beer is served at retail than we do here in the U.S.
Sure. Let me ask you this. I have a couple more questions for you. I'm going to let you off the hook, Robin. But how much did Japan and the market there actually influence your decision to partner with Kirin? Because it sounds to me like your market share is about the same in terms of 50% there, 50% here. And, of course, you mentioned that they would let you stay independent and met so many of your other needs. So I'm curious how much of it even mattered that that you would be able to brew in Japan as opposed to partnering with another company.
I mean, I think Japan, we like Japan. We like to visit it. We like the culture. Ry's not the only one who's fallen in love with the Japanese culture. Presumably, that's why he has so many ties. Because, like a lot of Americans and just people in general, it's a wonderful culture and great people. I think the Japanese market itself is a significant market. It's also, it's a wealthy country, and therefore, the pricing situation is very good. You compare it to China, and China is, rapidly growing in terms of its wealth. But, the Japanese or the Chinese economy just overtook the Japanese economy, in recent, whatever it was, 3-4 years ago. And sorry, it may be a little longer than that, but relatively recently, it's got 10 times as many people. So just to put it into perspective, Japan on a per capita basis is phenomenally wealthy. And you have a lot of people who are used to spending money on things. So, that does make a difference. But, we didn't sit out and say, hey, what's the biggest, opportunity? Because obviously when you get to pure numbers, it's China and India, and we did therefore go seek a specific strategic buyer. It was a combination of, they also have a huge presence. They have a 50% share in Australia. They have a good presence in some other Asian markets, and at the time, they're no longer there. They were in Brazil too, which is a very important market. And you get into Brazil, Japan, Australia; those are all good markets for craft beer.
Okay, all right,
fair enough.
So I also have to know, if you don't mind, if you could shed any light on then, so you got involved with Kirin end of last year, early this year, and then our friends at both were great friends with 21st Amendment Brewery and the guys over at Funkwerks. You guys set up a distribution deal as well to sort of partner together and get more beer out there. Is that right?
Yes, and I think, in a nutshell, it's actually not dissimilar for how we got involved with big brewers overseas. It's an answer to how do you go to market in the U.S., which is increasingly and relentlessly competitive. And one way you can do that is to get scale. And so we were able to, again, in the same vein of those guys run their business, they want to stay independent. We did not. It's plenty of a challenge for us to run our own business. The last thing we need to do is run a bunch of other people's businesses for them. Yeah. But what we can do is work together in smarter ways. And I think you're going to more and more of this, frankly, in craft, because what craft lacks in order to compete with bigger breweries and even each other increasingly, because we're our own competitors these days, is scale. So it's just a way of getting scale. We combine our sales team together, and everyone, in theory, everyone becomes more relevant to wholesalers and to retailers who are, ultimately that's the gateway to the customer, right? Is the retailer and the distributor. So in theory, and obviously we're confident it's going to work out, or we wouldn't be doing it. But we have a big challenge ahead to make this all work. But again, in theory, you got three good brands working together. We all represent different propositions. I don't think we're substitutes for each other than that, all beer and to some degree all craft beers can be seen as substitutes to each other. But we think we have complementary portfolios, and we also like each other, and that's another important component to any partnership.
That is important.
Any of you who are married or in a long-term relationship of any form will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, there's got to be an advantage.
You better like each other, because it ain't going to be golden every day. So.
There's got to be an advantage now for all the reps that are in all three groups to have an expanded portfolio, because part of the competition these days is the rotating tap model. Well, now each of those people have a bigger portfolio. They can participate more in that model.
Absolutely, and there's more opportunities for everyone as you have a bigger organization to grow, and a bigger organization can, invest more, and that's what we're doing here. So it's quite exciting. I think the most interesting thing from my perspective is that everyone's independent, so that we're working together. But we're still, everyone's branding and marketing and just, soul is very much, independent, and it's the founders that are running their businesses. And I think, we were looking specifically for people who didn't want to get out, because there's plenty of opportunities to get out, and there seems to be, understandably, there's plenty of people who are interested in getting out. But we wanted people to work with people who really wanted to stick it out and work together and have some fun along the way.
Now,
which we're entitled to have, I hope.
As you should be. Well, and the fact that you're all independent and you don't have to deal with three Garrett Olivers, you'll be able to still have some fun.
There can be only one. I know I'm shamelessly stealing a line from a movie, but there can be only one Garrett Oliver that I'm sure of. And that's probably a good thing for all of us. I would say that to him if he was right here in front of me. In fact, I'd probably enjoy more saying it with him.
That's probably true.
As would I. Nobody's talking behind Garrett's back here. And
no, exactly.
I'm also curious. It sounds to me like distribution being a big part, and access to market being a big part of that relationship. Does Kirin have much to do with that? And the three breweries? In other words, do they help you with distribution in the U.S. very much?
No, they don't. I mean, they don't. They have a pretty small presence in the U.S., so they're not involved. And in that way, our main business with them is really the Japan market in terms of our overall strategy, and certainly our approach in the U.S. market. I mean, they're an investor, and we have some other investors, and obviously we, inform our investors what our plans are, and we try to make sure everyone's in agreement and all that. But they're, strategically, they wouldn't even claim to have much to contribute in that way. I mean, they're in that way, they're very, they're very humble, and just, they know what they're good at, and they know what they don't know, which I think is half the battle for everyone.
So then, from a distribution perspective, I'm assuming Brooklyn doesn't own its own distributorship. You guys have distributors. 21st
No,
Amendment.
we were.
You were.
Yeah, we were. Once upon a time, we were in the distribution business here in New York and in Massachusetts. But no, none of us own distributors. So we are, three brands working together as essentially one supplier, and working through as much as possible one set of, one set of wholesalers, and then every retailer possible. Obviously, we certainly don't want to limit our retailers.
That makes sense. So the smaller guys, you have your Funkwerks and 2&A, not too small there. They get access to a larger brewery with Brooklyn, but then the three of you act as sort of a single portfolio to get the most distribution as that.
Yep.
Okay.
And our reps, so essentially, they had some people on the East Coast, but we had more on the East Coast naturally, and they have a lot more people than us on the West Coast. So everyone just becomes, they all sell for all three brands, and it's one identity. And don't ask us what that identity is, because we're not coming up with a cute name. We're not creative enough. For right now, the business cards will have all three logos on it, and I don't think it's everyone's working for one team. That's the mentality. So
I love that. Who has time for that bullshit? Just keep the three logos on there. And I am curious, has Sean O'Sullivan sent you your watermelon wheat outfit that he requires? He requires to be worn.
There are a lot of threats, vague threats, and slash promises about watermelon outfits, but I've been spared this summer's season. So we'll see what awaits in 2018.
Well, I wish you luck in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, if Nico has anything to say about it, you're going to get a watermelon tattoo on your forehead.
It's funny, too, because
so far I don't seem to be the target of the watermelon jokes, and I'm happy to, whoever is being targeted, I just pile on and then just kind of stay out of the way, you know what I'm saying? So far that strategy's worked. Maybe he'll hear this and I'll be screwed.
Yeah. We'll talk to Sean. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, also what I like about this, just knowing all of you players here, and just getting to know you now, Robin, but picturing the four of you in a room, I'm feeling really bad for Gordon at Funkwerks right now, because he's so unassuming and quiet and calm just makes this wonderful beer, and then you've got Sully and Nico, Garrett, for God's sake, boisterous around him.
Yeah, Sully and Nico are very personality, and Garrett is very verbose in an elegant way, and I think those two play off each other. And I don't know Gordon very well, but I imagine it's just like, I don't know what the fuck to say right now.
I think Gordon's just classy, like, I don't know, we're drinking a great beer right now, and while everyone else is dancing.
Okay. Gordon's the smartest guy in the room.
Exactly.
So he doesn't have to do all the talking.
See, Robin, you can say that. You're right. He doesn't have to do all the talking. He's just there as the smartest guy in the room.
Right. That's funny.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Robin Ottaway, the president of Brooklyn Brewing Company. And, Robin, thanks so much for hanging out with us today and talking to us about this.
Hey, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. You guys have a fun show here, and enjoy the rest of it.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Robin.
Take care.
See you in Japan.
Take care. Cheers.
There you go. Robin Ottaway, president of Brooklyn. Ry, thanks for getting Robin on with us, too. A little bit of insight there into what's happening. And we've got more to talk about with you, plus a collaboration beer that you brought us to try.
Oh.
So we get to do that. That's some fun. Who's the collab?
It's Coedo and Fieldwork.
Oh, cool. And we had Coedo on with you last time, right?
Ago.
So, okay. All right, before we go, White Labs, if you haven't heard about it, 2 strains that White Labs added to the vault for homebrewers. Their collection of specialty, one-of-a-kind strains. They put in WLP 066 London Fog Ale yeast and WLP 073 Artisanal Country Ale. Now available for pre-orders by visiting whitelabs.com/thevault. Once each strain reaches 150 orders, White Labs will release the yeast and ship it directly to your doorstep. And there's good news for pro brewers. If you want to access any vault strains for your next brew day, just place a minimum order of 1.5 liters through yeastman.com or by contacting a customer service rep. WLP 066 London Fog Ale is a good haze craze yeast. And then the 073 Artisanal Country Ale is perfect for your next beer to guard or other farmhouse style. So go check them out, whitelabs.com/the vault.
Beer to guards, baby. Drink them.
You like
Make them. Make more of them. Yeah. We don't see enough of them. Beer to guards. Forget IPAs. Let's go. Let's go.
I feel like we see exactly enough beer to guards.
Right. I think it's properly represented.
Would you rather see 5 beer to guards or 1,000 hazy IPAs?
Well, there is some in between.
Exactly.
From the beer to guard or the popular IPA.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be ordering either of them.
Guys, I'm trying to be relevant within the ad spot. Okay.
I'd like to be relevant within the ad spot. I was out with Chris White till 4 a.m. in the morning in Shanghai. Of course you were.
Yeah.
And what I like about him is he's brilliant. He's a scientist, and he's also a dude. He hangs out till 4 in the morning drinking with you. You know,
every
it's
time.
Just like,
I
what
had
a guy.
I had to stop traveling with the guy because I can't keep up with him.
Nobody can keep up with you. That's amazing. You have the high watermark.
I don't know if I'm drifting down or he's just way up there, man.
What was amazing, then I saw him the next day in Japan, and we went out to karaoke till 3 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next day he's at a festival, and he's pounding this 10% Koedo Fieldwork beer that we're about to drink, which uses White Lab yeast.
Nice.
So,
perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, when I went out with him in Hong Kong, we went back to the hotel at like 1 a.m., unbeknownst to me, turns out we were just dropping the chicks off and going back out. I got back when the sun came up. It's ridiculous.
That sounds great
with that guy.
I think what he's doing is, they already have the yeast done, right? They have a bank of, let's assume billions of yeast, right?
Billions,
different kinds, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no more research. There's no more anything he should do. He's working on anti-aging things. He has the liver of a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it is.
And he's his own experiment.
Yeah, it's like a Benjamin Button's eugenics thing. I don't know what it is, but he's doing it.
Right, with his DNA mapping of yeast, he's combining yeast DNA into his own DNA so he can process the alcohol.
Jimmy, this is the smartest thing you've ever said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're onto something here.
I'm on
because
something.
It's otherwise physically
impossible
and agically impossible.
Yes, and I mean, and then you get Mike and Chris together, and it's just like, I don't know what it's just the perfect storm of fuckery.
Oh yeah,
and that was 10 years ago, like in Vegas for NHC.
Right.
Like, there's no, how is it going? They're both, Chris is traveling farther and drinking more. It's impossible. The rubber band's going to snap, but he's figuring it out.
Yeah. He might only be 30% human at this point.
we may never know.
And Ry's description is also so valid because 8 a.m. the next day, he's a consummate professional. If he's got a speech to give, which is usually while he's traveling, or a meeting, or some secret research happening in Hong Kong, Japan, it doesn't
He's
matter.
also very good at karaoke.
Really?
We're talking,
I have karaoke'd with him before.
Also, you've been out partying with him. You kind of get hurt the night before. He's poking you in the morning going, chicken and waffles. Chicken and waffles.
He's a chicken and waffles guy.
Oh, yeah. He's like, come on. Chicken and waffles. Now.
It's true. All right. Check out White Labs. Also doing business in Asia. Believe they have a place in Hong Kong, and I'm not sure what's going on. They do have one in Japan.
They're
great
presence in Japan.
Excellent.
And they're also helping the homebrewers out in Japan as well.
Yeah, and Hong Kong, too, is my understanding. That's still a big part of White Labs' deal, is to help out the homebrewers. So, all right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll try some collab beer. We'll talk a little bit more with Ry. And then I got a little beer news for us later. Some of it relevant, some of it not. And
of course.
Lots to do. Hang in there. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on 2 gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy.
If you work in retail sales, the restaurant industry, or are a new craft beer enthusiast, or you know someone who is, you have got to check out Beer 101. Beer 101 is an online course created for anyone wanting a quick introduction to the vast world of craft beer. Beer 101 covers the history of beer, brewing ingredients and processes, vital stats like ABV, SRM, IBU, and gravity, styles, tasting, glassware, and pairing beer with food. The Beer 101 course is offered by the Brewers Association at craftbeer.com, also home to the truly awesome Beer Style Finder, a visual guide to every beer style. Quickly play with color, bitterness, and alcohol content to interactively explore the entire world of beer styles with a gorgeously designed interface to your favorite beverage. The new Beer 101 course and new Beer Style Finder are only available at craftbeer.com. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
Hey guys, what'll it be?
I'm not sure. What do you recommend?
A lot of people seem to like the Hefeweizen.
Is that a German Hefeweizen or more of an American-style wheat beer?
I'm not sure, but I can give you a taste.
Okay, great.
The Cicerone Certification Program certifies and educates beer professionals in order to elevate the beer experience for consumers. Unfortunately, not every bar is staffed with certified beer servers who can guide their customers through a beer list.
Here you go, guys. Let me know what you think of the Hefeweizen.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely more of an American wheat. But I can hardly tell because this beer just smells like sour butter. I wonder how long it's been since they cleaned the draft line.
Yeah, and look at the bubbles on the side of the glass. It's filthy.
Somebody should tell these guys about the Cicerone program.
For sure. How about we head somewhere else for another beer?
Your server should give beer the same respect you do. Request quality. The Cicerone Certification Program offers 4 levels of beer certification, in-person classes, and course books for beer professionals. Check them out at cicerone.org. The Cicerone Certification Program. We know beer.
Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Check out their brand new patent-pending Mash and Boil 110-volt electric mashing and boiling unit. This compact all-stainless unit lets you mash, sparge, and boil just about anywhere that has a 110-volt plug. Double-wall construction adds to efficiency and safety, and a precise thermostat keeps temperatures where you want them. Unlike insulated buckets and converted coolers, multiple temperature rest mashing is easy to do, all for under $300. They also feature the Mark II work pump, a magnetic drive high-temperature pump that does the work of pumps that cost twice as much, as well as exclusive Brewer's Edge regulators and quality Keg King kegs and disconnects. Check them out today at williamsbrewing.com to brews their vast selection.
Hi, this is Wayne Wumbles from Cigar City Brewing, and you're listening to The Session on the Brewing Network.
When I was young, they told me.
That's right. Thanks for sticking with us. We're back. We got a little more to do. Hey, if you haven't been over to craftbeer.com recently, you should go. They've got everything you need to learn about craft beer in the U.S. And if you're looking for pairing suggestions, they've also got a recipes and pairing section over there. If you're looking for to cook with craft beer, you got to check out the recipes on craftbeer.com. Craftbeer.com, published by the Brewers Association, offers the most comprehensive collection of craft beer-based recipes on the web. It's something to behold. Search and sort recipes by course and beer style to find the perfect menu item. Breakfast stout, French toast, stuffed with bourbon cream cheese frosting, for example. Go to craftbeer.com and search their craft beer cooking recipes and pairing ideas. And thanks to the Brewers Association and craftbeer.com for their support of the Brewing Network and the industry, for that matter. I mean, if there's anybody who's done almost as much as us for the industry, it's probably the Brewers Association.
Sure, those guys
coming close.
They're doing well.
They're doing all right.
No, that's a great idea. You could grab like 5 home brewing buddies and do your own like beer dinner, right?
Yes.
One guy could do the pre thing and the
Absolutely.
the dessert.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving is coming up.
I was going to say
it is the food holiday.
I think it might be a little gay to cook with your guy friends.
That's okay.
You know what I mean? I think you should at least have 3 other women.
Well, maybe somebody
just
else.
to be really manly about
maybe
it.
you got to find a cook to go. You're the brewer, then you find wife or friend or
some guys only have guy friends.
That was very sexist, Tasty.
Or a wife and a friend.
Well, whatever. Your buddy could be a buddy.
Yeah, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but you could have a wife and a friend.
Yeah,
or a friend.
We're very inclusive here.
Or just worry less about your sexuality and cook beer and food.
Just make beer, dude. Make beer, make food,
Get a
and then
get a friend or two.
All right, we still have Ry with us, publisher of Japan Beer Times, and brought us a beer to share.
Indeed.
This is a collaboration between Fieldwork and Koedo.
Yes.
Yeah. Where was the beer produced?
It was in Japan.
Koedo's
new brewery. In fact, they recently opened up a much larger brewery, and this was the first collaboration beer there.
Nice. So they flew the guys from
Alex,
Fieldwork flew
Alex
out.
Tweet.
Okay.
And actually, Koedo, just some background information, one of the best and largest craft breweries in Japan.
Okay.
They've been around for about 20 years, and they are distributed in America, primarily German-style lager styles, but they also dabble in other things, and they dabble very well. And they've done collaborations over the years with Ballast Point and Coronado, and they were thinking about another brewery of that scale, and I lobbied very hard for a local Northern California brewery.
Nice.
Fieldwork, because I know Barry and Alex, and my office is actually in the same building. I said, guys, you got to consider Fieldwork. You got to try these guys. I mean, they're one of the best breweries in Northern California. And so when the president of Koedo came over, we took him to Fieldwork, and he tried it and met Alex, and it seemed like a good fit.
Nice.
Let's do something funky.
What was the brewer's name that we spoke to from Koedo?
It was actually the president.
It was the president.
Haru.
Okay, yeah.
Haru is what people know him by.
I really enjoyed that interview. He was a lot of fun to talk to.
He's a good guy, really interesting guy. So he saw the light. He went to Fieldwork. He drank the beers. He saw the light. He's like, okay. And so Alex Tweet and I actually went to Japan together back in the spring. Went to Fieldwork and did that collaboration beer, and it is a 10% double IPA brewed with Okinawan pink sugar, brown rice, and aged with Japanese baseball bats. That was Alex's idea. It's actually
Really?
shaved down hinoki
Just
wood,
the
but
wood,
it's
yeah.
actually the same thing that's made. And that was his idea. That Alex said, "I want to do something like baseball themed."
Yeah, of
Japanese
course.
baseball.
You want to hit a home run.
I'll cut the bats down in the brewery, and we're thinking, well, let's just get you the hinoki wood,
Okay.
the blocks that they use to make the baseball bats.
Yeah, so you can
throw
have
it in the chipper.
So you don't have to have the tar and shit from the
Basically,
bats.
and they brewed it, and what's interesting, when it first came out, it was surprising. It was a burst of tannin flavor in your mouth from the hinoki wood, and it's a double IPA. So IPAs you want to drink as quickly as possible. And if you look at this, it's a spring brew, so it's aged. We kept it cold, and after time, we discovered it tastes better because you have that the hop was still fresh, but that tannin flavor sort of mellowed out into a nice balance. And now we're drinking it about 6-7 months old, but it's been kept cold, and I'm curious to see what it tastes like tonight.
Well, of all the ingredients that you mentioned, I think the one I don't know because I'm not familiar with the wood, but I'm thinking I'm thinking the wood is really coming through after this age. It's there you go. It's definitely piney. But to me, it's familiar to like a barrel-aged beer is what I'm picking up.
It was Chinook, Tahoma, and Simcoe.
Okay. Got it. I like the beer, and I just think I'm really picking up some of that wood flavor. It's almost oaky.
It's
got a spicy character or a wood character, but
it's kind of slick, kind of nice mouthfeel.
What is pink sugar?
Yeah.
So it's there's an island.
Self-explanatory.
I mean,
asshole. The Japanese are very simple people. We
What a
just
fucking
name
asshole.
things what they are.
It could have been blue. You know what they'd have called it.
It was used to bump up the alcohol without.
But does it add anything else other than dextrose? Right? Because
what's the difference?
Does it have a flavor?
Why is
you guys?
Why is it
told
pink?
Me, I've never actually brewed with
not,
it. I
but
think
who
this
knows?
was.
Is the color of the
idea.
tears?
The tears of a brewer.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay. I just never heard of it.
They wanted to use a native ingredient, and this is what they chose.
How strong is this beer? What is the
10%?
Look it up.
I'm doing it right now.
Some sugar obviously was involved in making it.
So they bumped up the alcohol without having to use the malt. So it's very cleverly disguised 10%.
Yeah.
Where were the spicing?
Doesn't taste like it.
Adjuncts. What was the spicing in the beer?
There was the brown rice, the Okinawan pink sugar, and the hinoki wood, and then any sort of spicy character had to have come from either the wood or the hops.
The wood.
I mean,
so you know what it tastes like when it was wood forward.
When it was wood forward, it was
tannish, more tannin than flavor. Than flavor.
Yeah, and it's really nice now. Actually,
did it get sold at Fieldwork here as well, or just? In
it was
Japan?
sold here in the Bay Area, and there's still some
under the
kegs and
Koweito
bottles.
brand.
Do you remember how many bats per barrel?
I'm sorry.
How many bats per barrel in the recipe? Do you remember that?
I do not know. I'm
being kind of facetious here, but it'd be nice to know. I mean,
That's
you could use one less bat.
And that would be awesome to put on the label too. Like 17 bats per barrel,
34 inches.
Oh yeah. Oh, this year we're using less bat.
Yeah.
Dry batted.
Yeah. We're gonna
see how it goes.
We're gonna keep the bats down to the maximum home runs of the best hitter in Japan next time.
Yeah.
And it was a very good collaboration. I mean, a lot of collaborations are made for cynical marketing reasons, and I know Alex has a very romantic connection with Japan, and not romantic in the sexual. Maybe he does, but
right.
He has a background.
There are a lot of cafes over there.
I think he had a deep appreciation for Japan, and he really enjoyed the trip. And while there, I took him around to lots of places, lots of bars. We went to, in my mind, the essential craft sake brewery in Kyoto, and it was amazing. I mean, this is
what's that called?
It's called Fujioka Brewery. The brand name escapes me right now. It's Soku.
Okay,
but it is actually the sake is available in America, but it's quintessential craft sake. I mean, they do everything by hand, meticulously. And the guy's, he's a difficult guy, as many craft brewers of whatever alcohol they make are.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I've always had difficulty there. I said, Alex, if he tells us to fuck off, just it's not because you're not important. When we go in there, hey, and for whatever reason, he and Alex connected.
Okay.
Maybe because they're both, curmudgeons in their own way. They felt a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And the guy actually let Alex mix the mash.
Okay.
And it was unprecedented. I've never.
Oh, really? He's usually very strict about his brewery.
Yeah, it was just kind of surprising. I mean, he clearly connected with Alex, and that was pretty much the whole experience. Like wherever Alex went, people connected with the guy. And we were in Kyoto, and some woman comes up to him and just hugs him. And just, what is going on here?
Wow,
he is very huggable.
He has a unique look here, and he must have a really unique look here.
Yeah, and he was a big hit in Japan. Is the
great
story.
Yeah. I want to
take
beer
as well.
Japan.
It was right after Beer Week in San Francisco, so they they had a lot of breweries brew in excess, so they had some extra fieldwork beer, and they exported it to Japan.
So he was able to pour his own beer there.
He was actually able to pour his own beer, and we went to several parties where fieldwork was served. It was funny though, because it was stuff like Fieldworks Vikings Lament. It's like this 13% bourbon barrel aged stuff.
Yeah,
and these Japanese people.
Weigh like 90 pounds a piece, right?
And people were falling off their chairs. Men were weeping, and
luckily, like
that
you
was
said,
Vikings Lament in Japan.
The bars are small; you can't fall that far. Hit a
but
wall.
It was a beautiful thing to see.
I would love
these
to be on
high-powered
that trip.
fieldwork beers in Japan.
You got to bring me on one of these trips. Not for me, with a brewer like this, so I can just be the fly on the wall and watch this stuff happen.
And throw Chris White in the mix.
Yeah.
Oh man,
damn it. I like this beer a lot. it's just one of those beers I wouldn't have guessed double IPA, and I think some of that has to do with the spice that that Tasty's talking about, and the wood character, which there are still tannins, quite a bit, which I'm enjoying.
But it doesn't taste like an alcohol bomb by any means.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have guessed that style.
No.
I don't know what style I would have guessed, but I wouldn't have called it a double IPA.
I think I would, because the hop firmness is there. It's really, really hop forward. It's almost more of a I don't want to say aggressive, but bitter forward.
Yeah.
Beer than we've had on the shows previously. I think.
Okay.
And I don't know how out of school I'm talking about, but like American style, I think double IPAs aren't this like there's a wall of hops right there. But I like it because of that spice character and because of all the other nuances of the ingredients kind of come through after that. They kind of blend well with the hops that they chose.
Yep.
And it's not really malt driven so much as ingredient driven.
Sure.
For the background flavors playing with the hops.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Pine tree right up front, and
and
not an alcohol bomb. It's not warming. It doesn't like. Oh damn!
It's like blowing a pine tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy.
I just did that yesterday.
The hops
so I know what you're talking about.
Someone gets the
we
sliver,
popped
though.
them open. They were the Chinook was just amazing.
Okay.
Came from
definitely.
Crosby up in Oregon, and
Oh, yeah.
I think the Tahoma came from a really small hop farm in Yakima area. That
Did
Alex
Fieldwork
introduced.
set that up, or does Coeto have access to
I
this
actually
great
helped
hops?
them get the Crosby hops to Japan, and
nice.
Alex introduced me to somebody up in Yakima that provided the Tahoma, and Coeto had their own Simcoe, but the hops came in just great shape.
Yeah.
And what else I thought worked out really well is, Alex is for lack of a better term, an experimental brewer, guy that pushes the envelope. People are probably familiar with his background at Ballast Point and whatnot, and Coeto is very scientific driven.
Okay,
and so you put these two together, and it kind of worked out really well.
Yeah,
Alex came with the crazy ideas. Coeto said, "Well, this is how we can fit that into a really nicely structured beer."
Which is really great, too, because you can't have too much crazy or too much science, to be honest, to end up with a great collaboration. So it's a good balance.
There's never enough science.
Beer. You're such a bore.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, hail.
Now, I'm curious, and maybe I asked you the last show, but I often don't listen to the answers, so I'm going to ask you again, even if I did. What are the one or two breweries and food items that you must take people who go there? Like, so if I only go to Japan for a day and I'm going with you, you've got to choose 2 beers or breweries to take me to try, and 2 Japanese cuisine items for me to try. And it could be a restaurant if you want to name it too, but I'm more curious about the item. Where do you take me? Because you
in
take
the
a lot
whole
of
country.
Well, Tokyo, and he goes all the time. I'm saying,
yeah.
so not in the whole country. So I'm sorry, in Tokyo.
Quite honestly, when I take people to drink the beer, I say, you can get great beer anywhere. You got to drink the sake when you're in Japan.
You do.
I mean, I'm sorry to.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And there was a time when 1/3 of all Japanese craft breweries also brewed sake.
Okay.
Sake, when 20 years ago when the laws changed to allow for brewing, a lot of sake breweries applied for that law, and naturally they made great beer because they understood sanitation, and some of them have been around for generations.
Wow.
I mean, Konishi was founded in 1550.
Wow.
They won a gold medal at the last World Beer Cup for doing a sake beer hybrid.
They took a video clip that we produced of the awards.
Nice.
They contacted the Brewers Association and said, we really want this video that you got. It was our video. I remember sending it to them.
So I take people to drink sake because you got to drink sake when you're in Japan.
Okay.
I mean, it's just incredible.
Okay, now I want to go.
Yeah, and you've had sake in America. I mean, everyone has sake, but when you go there,
all right,
you
so
just...
I hold my nose to drink a sake. Now where are we going for beer?
Okay, so beer.
Well, because the BN jet is only parked for so long.
I mean, it really
it's a rental,
right? And not everybody makes it back on.
There's extraordinary breweries in Japan. There's world class breweries, and that's really difficult. I tell people keep it around 5.
Well, see, and that's why I hear that. So you can give your 2 with a caveat. And
Okay.
say, like, I would also send you
say
these
2.
3 others. But, because they don't have to be your favorites, and I know you probably have friends, too. But you know how it goes. Sometimes people go in for a day, 2, and we got things to do. Where are you going to send me and my listeners? We're on a short time here.
Shiga Kogen beer is pretty incredible. I mean, if you're an American drinker who's used to hop-forward beers, you're going to drink this beer and you're going to think, holy shit.
Okay.
I had no idea Japan could make something of this level.
All right. Sounds like Tasty's alley right there.
They really
I mean,
are
that's kind
incredible.
of like
When I was there,
limiting my horizon a little bit, but yeah.
And I was there with brewers last month, and I asked everyone, let's all cut through the bullshit and just say who's good, and everybody said Shiga Kogen.
Great.
In terms of this hop forward, American style beer is pretty incredible.
Okay. And is that a brew pub?
It's a brewery. It's a brewery, and they're
with a tasting
brewery,
room.
And you can see their beers out in other outlets.
You can get it fairly readily in Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka. You can go up to their brewery. You can go to their tasting room, and the sake is free. They also make sake, and it's free.
Not good for me.
So here you go. You get the sake for free. You get the
when
beer.
Are we going?
You go, and they're near a ski resort, so you can go skiing.
Wow.
You can see the snow monkeys get into the hot spring resorts, and then you can go to a hot spring resort on your own.
Snow monkeys?
Snow monkeys, bro.
That's just
mind blown.
And
Don't you watch David Attenborough?
They host in March a beer festival called Snow Monkey Beer Live, where they bring the best music acts from around.
Wow.
And these are like cool music acts, like hip hop and slide guitar. And,
We got to try to
March, huh?
go there, bro.
Yeah.
March sounds
I would
good.
do that.
We have a beer fest of our own in March, so that might be
not
tricky.
me.
I thought it was in April sometimes. No.
It's March 31st this year. So
okay.
I guess there are lots of other. There are 30 apparently other days.
Other days. We'll leave Matt back here to figure it out. It's fine.
JP's going to be a dad by then.
So, I mean, that's definitely one.
Can't miss that.
Shiga Kogen's great.
Okay.
All right. So, does Japan have any their own beers, own styles that we should try to get a true Japanese?
So now
something?
you're gonna shift me away from my other answer.
Well, okay. Sorry.
Number 2.
Go ahead and give your other answer, and we'll talk about that'll be a friend.
And then the other answer. I mean, there's breweries that let's make 5 choices, but the other one it's just kind of a weird thing. Maybe because we're on the radio and I want to share it.
Yeah.
There's a brewery called Fujizakura. It's at the foot of Mount Fuji. They make German style beers. And if you drank
sounds great.
If we blindfolded all you guys and we served it and you drank it, you would never believe it's from Japan. You would swear it's from Germany.
And you're sitting at the foot of Mount Fuji.
And they just crush it. It doesn't matter what beer style it is. They make these incredible German style beers. And I remember being at World Beer Cup, and when it was announced that they had won whatever German category, they had won 2 gold medals. And we can say all we want about beer competitions, but I remember the German table going, "What? Japanese brewery?" Because they were right beside us, and they couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
but they have total respect for this brewery, and the guy is he's like a half gangster. He's funny. He's like
Yes.
he is. I mean, he's like you see him, and you would.
We know a lot of craft brewers that are weird. So
That's right.
That's saying. We know a lot of craft brewers that making good beer is not that hard.
There's not a person in Japan, like a brewery, that doesn't respect this guy's German style beers. I mean,
Okay.
it's just so incredible.
Wow.
And I just want to bring that. It's kind of an anomaly. So you asked me where did it to?
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is just the world of craft beer, that you can have this guy in Japan who you look at him, you would never guess he was a brilliant brewer.
Okay.
And you drink his beers, and he blows away most German brewers. And most German brewers will not admit it until they drink his stuff.
Okay.
And they're like, okay.
They're
well,
damn it.
Fine. I wish we had that in America, to be honest.
What, the proof?
No, the
German-
a German brewery in America that most every craft brewer drinks and respects.
I see. Yeah.
Because it's not. I think we have too much country for that stuff to kind of get around. But,
Yeah.
We need more of that.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
I would like to answer the other 3.
And the food.
We will get to the food, but
Stop,
the other
Warren.
3.
Sorry.
Just relax.
So sorry.
The food's important.
We've already gone over Koedo. I mean, they do amazing lager styles. And in this day and age where everyone's hop forward, it's amazing to drink, good lager styles. You've got Baird Beer. It's an American who's been in Japan for over 20 years. He's nativized. What I like about him is that he back before anyone was doing these kind of like one-offs, he was doing them all the time, every week, and he's still doing them. And great respect for this brewery that does just constantly making new beers when everyone's just focusing on their core beers. And in America, you take it for granted that breweries are always putting forth these one-offs.
Yeah, it's just a given here. We
and
have to have that.
They're using native fruits and vegetables and things in their beers in amazing ways, and people don't give them credit because it's like, oh, he's an American brewer in Japan, but he's still Japanese. I mean, he's got he's had 4 children in Japan. He's nativized.
Okay,
and I really like Mino beer. In
Osaka.
Mino, great story. The president was in the alcohol distribution business, and he had 3 daughters, and his oldest daughter, he was driving one day after the laws changed, and he said, Kaori, that's her name. He's like, you see that building over there? There's a brewery. I bought it, and you're going to be brewing tomorrow. She was like, that's really funny, Dad. And she was brewing there.
Wow.
That week. And she turned into one of the best brewers in Japan.
Wow.
And this is like, a male-dominated society, and here's this like, this young female brewer that's doing amazing styles. And again, preface this, competitions aren't everything, but she wins World Beer Cup medals. She wins awards. She makes these amazing beers. And they've got this really funky local style in Osaka. I mean, they've hit it on every single front. Great beer, successful business. They've really
good backstory with her.
Kind of plugged in, and her dad died very suddenly. I think it was an aneurysm a few years ago. And suddenly you're not only the brewery, you're running and your dad was like the kingpin of Osaka now. So here you go.
Wow,
and everyone's really worried, and she
stepped up.
Yeah, she stepped up, and
nice.
Okay,
total respect for that brewery and the quality.
That sounds great. Okay, that's a good list.
Now the food.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Now, some people aren't going to like this.
Okay.
McDonald's.
Yeah, Burger King.
Move that microphone closer to you. This food's important.
La Royale with cheese.
But be some upset people, but Japan raw horse.
Really?
Raw horse.
You're kidding.
It's a specialty in many parts of Japan.
Okay.
And in America, especially where, horses, it's like...
Yeah.
They're revered.
But in Japan, it's like the same thing. Like, we eat venison here. In Japan, deer are divine. And, like, how could you eat deer? I mean, it's changing a little bit in Japan.
So we're talking about the little black ones, right? Because they're better.
Whoa. I don't know, but raw horse, it wasn't...
Are the horses bred for this, or is it like old horses that are...
No, I think they're bred.
Yeah.
The sticky one.
And there's different, it's very pungent, but...
Is it gamey pungent?
It's gamey, definitely
gamey. Yeah. But it's raw.
It's raw.
It just little thin slices they give you or something?
Yes. And there's well-done raw horse, and then there's like raw horse. And
so it's aged.
Some of it. So in Fukuoka, where I lived, there was this guy, he lived in San Diego for a while, so his specialty was raw horse products and West Coast IPAs. It was so awesome.
Talk about a cowboy.
And this guy would have raw horse liver tacos.
Wow.
With Coronado Idiot IPA.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just the wildest experience.
Okay.
And honestly, raw horse liver's disgusting. It's
Okay.
crunchy and pungent and disgusting. But decent
It's
raw
liver.
horse liver.
Liver's liver. I don't care what animal it came out of.
So
It
irony.
starts out bad.
The same. It starts out
raw
bad.
horse, it's...
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other one is...
It's a filter for crap.
Yeah.
The deep-fried fish sperm is pretty good.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I can imagine these little mackerel jerking off into a fried bed. Like, here we go.
That up and
You guys got to try it. It's so good. You
How
can get
is it even
How do you bread that
large
shit?
enough to be a thing?
It looks
Right.
Do you
like a
spread
squiggly pile.
Spread the little swimmers.
I don't know how it works, but it
Deep
tastes
fried.
really good. You can get some of that.
What does
You
it
can get some of
taste
that.
like?
Salty, Justin.
But high in protein.
Umami.
Smells like
Umami
pee.
laden.
Umami.
It's just
Umami laden.
Wow.
It's a myriad of umami flavors.
The umami flavors were myriad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
No mommy's
yeah.
present.
I like
But you can
salt.
get it. I don't remember what the English word is, like smelt or something strange.
Oh,
Oh, like the fish?
yeah.
How do you ask?
Right?
I like the good part of the horse.
なんか馬の美味しいところを食べたい。
What is
I'm
the
guessing
best?
those.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
You wouldn't have to ask that.
You
if
wouldn't have
were
to ask
getting-
that, just
Okay,
like-
yeah. But I still like it.
It'd be more of an insult, I would imagine. Don't
Oh,
give me
no,
none of the
no.
shit. Give me the good end.
Yeah. Wow.
But, you know, I've... Interesting question. Is fish sperm
It's still
vegetarian, vegan? How does this
I would
happen?
think it's the most vegan because, like, you're giving pleasure to the fish. You're not, like, hurting the fish.
Well, but aren't they anti-animal byproducts also?
I don't know. Who knows? But imagine if reincarnation...
It's not an animal byproduct.
Well,
it's just an animal product.
Yeah.
Technically, it's not an animal.
JP has an amazing point. PETA should love it because you're jerking off fish.
Imagine if reincarnation was real... I would want to come back as a salmon who gets jerked off on the daily for people to eat.
What was the type of fish that the sperm comes from?
Actually, I don't know.
Horny.
I thought
Horny fish.
Male fish.
Right.
We're here in the Bay
male.
Area. I mean, you can get this fairly readily.
Okay.
Technically, it's not really an animal. 'cause it's only
Just go to any
Fish,
PetSmart.
Sperm,
one of the two.
Japan.
I mean, I guess if we have
Japanese
caviar, what's the difference, really? Right?
Yeah,
Caviar is
And,
actually
you know,
probably...
just to be nice, we had
Milt.
fish sperm. Milt. There you go.
Is the seminal fluid of
No.
fish, mollusks, and certain other water-dwelling animals
Okay.
who reproduce by spraying this fluid.
Right, that's what I was wondering. Do they just collect the water and dehydrate it?
What is
Sounds like some friends in this room.
What is the consistency of the inside of this deep fried substance?
Very creamy.
I
Shiraku,
couldn't do
a.k.a.
it.
buttery fish semen. Shiraku?
Buttery.
Shirako.
Shirako.
Generally, when you introducing a friend to that, you got to tell them about the texture first.
Yeah. I would...
Because they just...
I say you don't tell anybody anything
Oh, no,
until
no,
it's over.
no,
The
no,
experience
no.
is over.
You got to worry about that because they'll spit it right out.
Yeah, even at the creamy texture, I think I would be spitting it out.
Well,
It looks nice.
I can follow you with the raw horse.
it looks nice.
Jesus Christ.
Let me see it. What
It's
is it?
really good.
I'm
telling you,
trying to,
you
like...
gotta
Is that it?
Is it like a cheese curd?
Why are they so big? Like, how does that work?
That's it right there?
Now the fish hasn't
Like, that's the
released in a
photo?
while. I
How does
guess.
it fit up the pipe?
It looks like frosting.
It looks like a brain.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a brain. That's deep fried already?
No,
So when
it
you
looks
deep
like
fry it,
raw
it's
or whatever.
really nice.
I see. So that's raw fish sperm. And it has not been... you'd have to deep fry the shit out of that for me.
I do it. Oh yeah,
it's like I said,
After your free sake, for sure.
It would take a lot of free sake.
What do you think of the dipping saucer, Doc? What do you
Okay.
think?
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well,
What do you think?
I mean, how would you describe that?
First one's
Honestly.
free.
It's a little wormy. It kind of looks... Or like
giant wide noodles or something?
Yeah, it looks like a cross between like white beans and
So you're worried
and
about
noodles.
you're worried about the texture.
It looks like sheep
I'm not
intestines.
worried. I was just curious.
It does look like sheep intestines.
I'm worried about the whole thing, but I don't know that. I don't even like fish.
It melts in your mouth.
It does.
I'm sure it
Not
does.
in your ovaries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not in your face.
You know, it just slides right down your throat.
Oh, God. Okay, well, those are
So-
good recommendations.
Yeah,
You know,
so horse and,
for a vegan option.
Okay. Can I
Kyoto
just
has
know your
these-
like best ramen place in Tokyo?
Yes.
For God's sake.
Where's that Burger King again?
Yeah.
We can talk about ramen. I would go off on ramen. if you
So
wanna go off.
I either eat. I know they're two different cultures, so I'm not that dumb. But I either eat ramen or pho like twice a week right now. And it's been going on for months. I'm crazy about them both. I just absolutely love ramen and pho right now. So if you want to talk to me a little bit about ramen, I'm down.
We can do a whole show because my wife is
can?
Vietnamese and I know all about both.
I would.
Isn't Thursday?
I would love to.
Thursday's open, right?
I would love to do this, or
one-off.
at least to talk to you guys about it. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, so give me some. Do you have any like ramen pointers that you give?
But I do feel like we should go back. I will get to the ramen, but
Okay.
we should. You know, we talked about fish sperm and raw horse.
Yeah,
meat.
other-
You want to do three other
we're
foods?
in an area
Yeah.
with a lot of vegans, and we should talk about
Okay.
this awesome food.
Okay.
That's in
Apples.
Japan. They have these fermented, like deeply fermented beans in Kyoto. They're just pungent and gross.
Okay.
But they're so incredible. It's like this burst of flavor. You know, people talk about like how beer can be gross.
Burst of bad flavor?
Right.
But what is bad flavor? You know, like beer can be really weird when it gets sour and barrel aged, and they have like that sour and bourbon barrel aged equivalent of beans in Kyoto, where they age these beans in barrels and weird things, and they come out just.
What's the texture
weird.
like?
I mean, it's mushy.
Okay.
But it's. I mean, you're eating mold. You're eating molded beans.
And you just eat them plain like that.
Yeah, and they're incredible. I've never had them with beer, and I would love to try them with beer. I've only had them with sake.
Okay.
You get them in Kyoto. These, I think they're called Daitokuji beans.
Okay.
And they're just these.
You don't have like a plate of them. Like you have a couple with when you're drinking sake.
It's like a small plate of like these
charcuterie thing,
rich,
like edamame.
Okay.
Big plate
beans, and you eat them, and it's just like wow.
I would try that.
Flavor. And
I would try that too.
So they're sour.
Yeah. They're
moldy.
They're everything.
All the things.
But they're incredible. And especially
well, there must
if you're
be people
drinking,
like them. I'm down for that.
You know, sake with it, and sake has this weird way of pulling out an umami flavor.
Oh.
I've never tried it with the beer. I would love to try it with the beer.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get it online.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to.
That's
backtrack
okay.
us,
No,
but,
that's what I like because I would try that.
Pho and ramen.
When we go for the sake, we're going to get the beans.
Your question about pho and ramen is...
Well, yeah.
First of all, is it pho or is it pho?
Right. Yeah.
I don't speak Vietnamese. So
Okay. Because I know, like,
I always say pho.
I always think it was pho, and then later on, people are like, well, you know, it's pho because the accent mark on the O means that it's a U, and I'm like, oh, okay, then it's pho. But I don't.
Probably an American who told you that. We're all idiots.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I don't know which. I always call it pho. I don't know which
You have
one.
to sound a little
I just
angry.
know I love it. So, well, I guess. I mean, let's stick. I don't know. We're on the Japan.
Let's
theme,
go
so we
ramen,
should
dude.
stick
Yeah.
ramen.
Yeah.
So
We can
I
do
guess
ramen.
if there is like a go-to place you have in Tokyo, but maybe more for my own sake, do you have any ramen like pointers, like what you look for in authentic ramen?
So here's the weird thing: like in Japan, people don't drink beer with ramen. Like ramen's what you eat after you get drunk.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh shit, I'm so drunk, I'm going to eat some ramen so I don't throw up on the train back home or whatever it is.
So it's like Taco Bell.
It actually has some nutritional value.
So it's so weird to come back here to America where everyone's making these like gourmet ramen. But you know what? It's fascinating to go out and eat these ramen bowls at these like places. You pay $20 for a ramen bowl in San Francisco, and it's like, well, what the hell was that? You know, it's like $3 in Japan, but they're incredible with the stuff that they've done with them. I won't name names now, but there's some incredible places in San Francisco. There's some incredible places in the East Bay.
Yeah.
And I think it's
a good thing.
Incredible thing
Yeah.
for these people to be doing these kind of gourmet ramen bowls, and then you pair beer with it. Now, we had Robin on the show earlier, and Ippudo, which is like a pioneer of this kind of upscale ramen. 20 years ago, they ran just a ramen shop in Fukuoka, and I worked there in 1997. And I used to go in this like guy's shop and eat ramen. And I was just like, oh, everyone's like, this is a great ramen. This guy like got it that ramen could be lifted to another level.
Okay.
And now he's probably one of the most famous ramen dudes in the world.
Nice.
And he opened up a ramen joint in New York, and he went to Brooklyn Brewery, and he sat down with Garrett Oliver and said, hey, let's make a beer that pairs well with ramen. And it's very difficult. And Garrett talks about this like in an interview we did with him for the Japan Beer Times. He just said it's really difficult to pair beer with ramen because it's like fatty and you got all this cosmos of flavored, like a myriad of flavors.
Yeah, that's right.
And
use that proper way.
Was that the right way?
Use the proper way.
Okay.
The flavors are myriad that come through in ramen.
He actually used it incorrectly because
he found the way.
Well, you straddled the line. You said a myriad flavors, but in that sense, you'd have to say a myriad of flavors, or you would have said there are myriad flavors. So I'm sorry, but Ryan,
he just used it. He just said of very quickly.
The flavors with which we pair with our ramen.
Okay, there it is.
It's very difficult.
You know, Garrett worked with these guys for a while to come up with a ramen beer, and apparently they did, and it works. And
nice.
And Garrett's actually privately talked to me about how difficult. That was one of his biggest challenges. How do you make
And he knows
beer
a lot
that
about food and beer pairing.
Yeah, he really does. He really does.
It's really difficult to do. And
I don't drink beer with my ramen. I like water.
Just ramen.
Maybe a Sprite every now and then, a little sugar.
Ippudo just opened up in Berkeley. Downtown Berkeley.
Okay.
Ippudo, yeah.
I'll have to check this out.
What's the name of it?
Ippudo.
Okay.
I scored a good ramen shop in Brentwood, actually, by kind of where I live, too. We've been there 3 times now, and it's delicious.
Well, and so Ry brings up this good point that my brother and I had talked about this years ago. My brother was a chef, and we were talking about Mexican food, right? And that there are these fancy Mexican food places. And as a chef, and knowing about cuisine, it drives him insane.
Right.
That there are gourmet Mexican food places because of the same thing that you brought up, that Mexican food was really peasant food.
Street food,
the
man.
ingredients,
Right.
the way it's prepared, that's just its nature. That's what it is. It's not derogatory. It was peasant food. And so to go to these like fancy Mexican places, it would just drive him fucking insane. Although he sort of respected that some of it was obviously good. And now you're saying the same thing really about ramen, where it was the same thing. It's peasant food. And I was just with my brother. He made me pho. It was amazing. And the same thing. He's like, yeah, I go to these places. There's like a line out the door now, and it's gourmet pho. But the fact is, it's still fucking peasant food, and it costs 35 cents to make a bowl of it. But it's so flavorful and so good that if the chef or the proprietor takes it to the next level, as you said, and really understands how to make it, it is a wonderful food.
Yeah, just David Chang that whole thing, man.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
The slow braised broth that that takes all day to make before I get to eat it. All of the different ingredients that you then put in to doctor it up. I love pho a little more than I love ramen because it is a little more basic, and then you make it as complicated as you want. Less fatty. Ramen's so rich sometimes, which is great for a hangover, like you said.
Pho is like life.
And in San Francisco, a place called Mensho Tokyo, just a few blocks up from the Tenderloin, they opened up, and that's real deal Japanese. They don't try to Americanize it. They just this is Japanese. You eat it, and you love it, or just don't come.
Is it?
What's the name of that place?
Do you remember
Tokyo.
Do you remember what the bathroom looks like?
How many glory holes?
Right.
Then I'm not thinking of the same place.
Oh, the place.
The place I'm thinking of. The bathroom's like a forest. You go in, and the walls. It's a fucking forest in the bathroom.
You're looking for the river in there and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, wow.
So you'd know if it was it. So I must be thinking about a different place. All right, I'll have to check out Mensho Tokyo too.
Mensho's pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, we stop boring our listeners with my fascination.
Now I'm hungry,
with
but
ramen.
we get quote unquote Philly cheesesteaks.
Philly cheesesteak soup.
Right. Yeah.
Out of the crock.
That's great.
Pot of crock.
So,
I can't wait.
Before we end the Japan section, we had a really good conversation with Robin about how Kirin can help push craft beer into the mainstream. And there's one point I want to make. And you have these craft breweries that have been around 20 years, right? And they've grown, even it's 1%, they've grown the market share. They've grown the popularity. And the market share of the big breweries, Kirin, Asahi, Sapporo, Suntory, it's been declining.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the big irony to me is like Kirin saying, well, or Suntory, or any of these guys saying like, well, you need us to grow the market share. And some of these like places like Shiga Kogen, who I mentioned earlier, are saying, well, we've never needed you. For 20 years, we've been growing the market share of craft beer without your help. So what is this thing like we need you to grow the market share of craft beer? Like your market share is declining, and ours is growing. This sounds like a flip, and that's the one thing that bothers me. I do think that craft breweries potentially working with Kirin and these guys, there could be some sort of dynamism there.
Yeah,
but I don't like that sort of cavalier
that it's the
statement
only way.
That we
fine by ourselves.
They don't.
Well,
right. I mean, there are great breweries in Japan growing the craft beer market, and the whole reason Kirin and all these guys are jumping into craft beer is because these guys are growing the market, and their market's dying.
So, how are they growing it if they can't get into the retail side very well? So they're just growing it by people going out to their pub.
we're tired of this this race to the bottom beer.
No, but I mean the access. I mean, to grow it, you have to go to an establishment and drink it.
Yes.
Okay.
So people are not drinking it. They're not buying the beers at the supermarket. They're not going to the izakayas and the standard restaurants. They're choosing to use their time to go to the craft beer centric bars and restaurants.
Wow. That is such a difficult... I mean, the way we did it here was hard enough. That is such a more difficult way to increase market share. Are they allowed to do growlers and things like that?
Yes, but nobody is like...
Nobody cares?
Yeah, nobody's caught on to the growler thing. Probably because you can get your brewery to ship beer to your house.
Oh, right. There's the internet. Yeah.
There's the myriad.
It is one of the reasons the macros focusing on the craft market and trying to convince them that the craft needs the macros, because they're also losing market share to wine and spirits well over there.
They're losing market share to everything. Wine, spirits, craft sake is like having a resurgence. Age, people just aren't drinking beer. So, I mean, the two growing segments are craft beer and premium sake.
Okay,
that's for the younger set, basically,
and not just younger people. I mean, people in their 30s, people with
but primarily younger people are more adventurous and trying new things. Right?
They're just saying, you know what,
way up into the 30s.
I'm sorry,
way up into their
30s, 40s. I mean,
it's mid 30s.
40s, God, that's old.
JP.
Wow.
But in Japan,
right.
that's young. I mean, Japan's the oldest society in the world.
Really? I had to move there.
You got to be born Japanese.
I just got to feel young again.
Start over again.
Yeah, I'm going to move to Japan, start over.
Oh, hell yeah.
Help me find
Reborn.
a flat, will you? All right. We got to take a break.
Okay.
It's a short one. We're going to take a quick little 3-minute break here, everybody.
Shit.
So if you need a beer, get it fast. We'll take a quick break. Before we do, though, hey, Session Beers is out. You remember that from the Brewers Publications? Did you get it?
Oh, I got it.
I figured you would. Low alcohol Session Beers have taken craft beer movement by storm. More than half of the fast growing brands are beers with less than 5% ABV. JP,
I love it.
If you're interested in honing your Session beer brewing skills, there's a brand new book from Brewers Publications that'll be a great addition to your brewing library. Session Beers: Brewing for Flavor and Balance, written by World Beer Cup and Great American Beer Festival award-winning brewer Jennifer Talley. Session Beers explores the history behind some of the world's greatest session beers, past and present. Learn how stouts, sour ales, experimental IPAs, and more of your favorite styles can be brewed to be less than 5%. Of course, you remember Jennifer Talley brewed in Utah for years, too. So
Squatters.
She's a master of getting great. It was the best beer I had in Utah when she was there. So Session Beers includes popular recipes for professional and home brewers, along with personal stories from some of the best brewmasters in America. Learn more and order a copy of Session Beers at brewerspublications.com.
Not just stories, but good recipes from other brewers, too.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we got a little beer news to do, maybe another beer to drink, and then we're going to go home.
And more feedback?
We're not going to eat dinner?
Oh, we got to eat. Beeve will cry. Beeve left, I think. She's like, fuck you guys.
She went to get some poison to put into the...
She went to heat the bread.
X-Lax.
All right, it's The Session. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
With over 20 years of experience making world-class craft beer and more than 100 gold medals in international competitions, Moylan's Brewing Company is not just a pretty face in craft beer. Just ask Brendan Moylan.
What do we got here? The beer of the hour. Moylan's, gotta love that big M. It's like a sign of awesomeness. Woo-hoo! It's got an extra kick to it. Let's pour this bad boy. Oh, yeah. Oh, Moylan's. The end of the night when the kids are finally in bed, the wife's in bed, nobody's bothering your ass anymore. That's Moylan's time. Moylan's is for you.
Yeah.
It's to help you out.
Yeah.
It helps me out.
What?
Well, because it's freaking awesome. Northern California brewed. It's brewed with love.
With love?
Oh, yeah. Tremendous. And it's always best where?
Moylan's.
You gotta try it. On tap at Moylan's in Novato. They're friggin' awesome. Not only because I own the brewery, because I love the beer.
Cheers.
Boom.
Kilt Lifter Scotch Ale takes big beers to a whole new level with rich malt balanced perfectly with delicate hops, and now comes in 4-pack tall boy cans so you can take the party on the go. Or come to the brewery, take a tour, and try any of Moylan's fresh creations right from the source. Check them out at moylans.com.
Hey there, BN Army. Have you heard the latest at Hop Tech? Since Hop Tech has doubled in size after a huge expansion, Jade and Roberto can stock even more of the best quality homebrewing supplies and equipment. Over 60 kick-ass varieties of hops and malts, monster truckloads of quality brewer's yeast, including White Labs, Y-yeast, and multiple dry yeasts. They even have all grain systems from Grain Fathers and Ruby Street Brew Systems, thanks to Jade, the brand new all-grain brewer. And don't forget about their 10% discount to all BN Army members. Jade and Roberto are waiting for you and all of your brewing questions over at hoptech.com. Hoptech, totally not sucking since 1983.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamel Zainashev, and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn-the-cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop. The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy-drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some at hereticbrewing.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Blake from Creature Comforts. You're listening to The Session on the Brewing Network.
All right, welcome back to the show. Just a couple things left to do.
Couple of things.
Still hanging out, Ry.
All right.
Japan Beer Times.
Beer news. I'm excited.
What's the website?
Yeah, I just put together a couple
Japan
of
Beer
things.
Times?
JapanBeerTimes.com, exactly. If you go there, you can get on their mailing list, and you can order the magazine, and you can get discounts on different things.
Great articles, too.
Digital versions available of the Japan Beer Times.
iTunes, yeah.
You guys got an app there for that. So, doing good work over there. It's your full-time gig, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
except for I run a media company, and that's not the only publication we do.
I see. Okay.
But it's our primary publication.
Got it.
We also do a sake magazine.
Nice.
As I said earlier, many breweries in Japan also do sake, so we thought, hey, nobody's doing a sake magazine. Let's do that as well.
Nice. Yeah.
And we do the world's only sake magazine as well.
Beautiful. Good work, Ryan. Proud of
Thank
you.
you.
Keep it up.
He doesn't say that to us.
No.
Keep it up.
I've never heard him say
or
that.
proud of you or any of that.
You guys,
I mean, if I was proud of you, I'd say it.
I know this.
Now
he's not proud of us.
Now, Scott,
I want to be on this show.
Your father and I love you very much.
All right, you want to do a couple beer news stories?
Please.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Things happened.
Why
in beer?
wouldn't we?
Oh, wait, are you going to rant?
No, it's some simple stuff.
Okay, fine.
I'm trying to keep my blood pressure down nowadays.
fine.
And
For beer news, I have a question.
Yeah.
When Sapporo bought Anchor Steam, was that big beer news? I mean, that's kind of a bombshell.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
That
the
came up on the
godfather
show.
of
We had that.
Yeah, but we didn't
craft
get
beer, and
I'll
the
tell you,
Japanese breweries
didn't have the
bought
scoop.
them.
You're right about that, but honestly, I feel we're so desensitized to it
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
It did not have a major influence, and also because they had already because Anchor had already sold.
Right. That's more of it.
To if Fritz had sold to Sapporo,
that might have been. Yeah.
I think it would have rocked the craft beer world.
Yeah.
And people would have been very angry at him too because of how he portrayed, his love for the brand, which I think was all pretty honest. So yeah, there was this buffer zone in between when they got bought by not even a beer company, by a liquor company, basically, and then all the other things that have happened. It was just kind of like,
No.
yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah,
To me, it's come down like when you want to
happen.
expand, or if you want to sell, you got to sell to somebody. So it's going to have to be somebody that's interested in beer, right, or in alcohol. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, I agree, and I feel like Fritz made his first deal based on that, and based on the fact that, I mean, what the fuck do we know? We just know what's
Well,
in
that
the
just
newspaper.
created another
based
event
on the
where-
fact
We
that-
know as much as anybody else.
That wouldn't be that the company wouldn't be dissected and gotten rid of, and that and that happened. They expanded the liquor side of the business. I forget the name of the company. I hate saying
Anchor Distillery.
Potrero Hill.
No. I meant the company who they sold to, but
like Blue Sky or some John like
some
that.
VC or
anyhow, they expanded the liquor side. They did keep on all the employees. Mark Carpenter was still there.
Right.
You name it. And then that was how many years ago was that? Now it was 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then this sale, and so I just feel like it was a stepping stone to that.
Right.
I think some of
But
their
I think it's a valid question because it should have sort of blown our minds.
Yeah, it
The
was on-
quintessential American brewery.
It was on front news. Yeah, I mean, front page news. I remember that walking down the street and looking in those newspaper racks, and it was front page news. Like, wow, Sapporo bought Anchor Steam in San Francisco. Maybe it was like a bad news day. Nothing else to talk about. Trump didn't
but Anchor
cheat,
Steam's a brand in
so-
Tokyo, in Japan, right? It's a
Yeah,
brand people recognize.
yeah. I mean, it's a brand, but it's not something that people appreciate. And that Sapporo bought them. It's big in Japan and in America. I mean, it could be big Sapporo.
But I also think it's just we here in the Bay Area appreciate it even more than the rest of the U.S. Of course, it's available across the U.S. too, but its history matters more to us. It's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, it's kind of fascinating that it made headlines in the mainstream media, and in the beer nerd media, we were kind of like, well, there you go.
Right? Yeah.
That's another one.
So what? Well, sorry to hijack your beer news, but
It's
what
okay.
would it take? A Japanese brewery buying Heretic. Would that drop a bombshell?
What are you asking?
That's a little close to home.
That's why I asked it.
To rile our feathers or the beer nerd community feathers? What are you asking?
I mean, what would the reaction be if a major Japanese brewery, somebody came in, Asahi, Kirin, or Sapporo, and it's like, Heretic's now owned by Sapporo?
Well, Justin's asking a good question. Does it really matter what we think, the people in the industry think about it? It's more about this consumer, right? Because that's where they're spending all the money.
So I think, actually, if it didn't cause an Sierra Nevada.
That was going to be what I said.
Because I was going to say, if Anchor didn't do it, no one's going to do it. But as I was about to say that, I thought, they'd have to buy Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
And then we'd all...
Or Sam Adams.
And even that, I don't know. Maybe. But I'm
Sam
telling
Adams
you,
publicly
with Sierra
traded.
Nevada, we would lose our fucking shit.
You're right.
We would lose our shit. And the reason is because with Anheuser-Busch not being an American company, not that they were ever like our people, but at least it was an American company. They were like we had something to hold on to.
For a while there.
Sierra Nevada is like the last stronghold, right?
Yeah.
They're
a pillar.
They're independently owned, for God's sake.
No,
And
right.
I mean they're like a
family owned.
they're family owned. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say sole proprietorship, but they're not. But they're fucking family owned. If that happened, we would probably lose our shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, it wouldn't matter if it was a Japanese brewery or a European
Brazilian
conglomerate. Yeah, we wouldn't care. It would just be, come on, Ken, like you're our last guy standing.
Who else is going to buy it?
Yeah.
Put a little
The
pressure
thing
on
is
that.
when you get so big like that, it takes so much money. You can't go to who's going to buy it?
That's nothing for AB InBev Global.
Right.
They could afford Sierra Nevada.
But if you would have to assume, and who knows, if Ken, who you can be damn sure has been offered investment over the years, has even refused all of that, he's decided to stay completely family and independently owned.
Sure.
and rides around in a private goddamn jet, I don't know that there's an offer on earth that would matter to him.
Yeah,
wouldn't change his life a second.
It wouldn't change his life,
No.
and I.
It would
and
negatively
also,
impact his life.
It would
to be honest,
in a negative way.
And it also he I think has shown a pretty strong commitment, is what I'm saying. You can be sure he's been offered some billions and has said no, so he's committed. And at this point in his life, and probably that of his family, it's not going to make that much of a difference.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, $500 million is a lot of money, but
Well,
Gotta start spending fast.
Or you
Right.
think that's what it would cost to buy the BN. So
at least, yeah.
Just saying.
Hey, we'd get like $20.
We have a crock pot too.
That's right.
So you mentioned Sierra Nevada. Sorry to continue
You're
hijacking
good.
your
That's okay.
program, but you were saying earlier there's not enough controversy on your show. I mean, Ken's getting older. He's leaving it up to Brian.
Yeah.
And Brian's got to run the show.
His daughter, too.
And Sierra's got to run the show. But as far as I hear, Brian's being the one groomed to run the show. Sierra's doing some stuff on the retail side with the torpedo room.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not privy to that insider information. But what happens if Dad retires and Brian's just like, shit, man, this is tough.
Right.
And
Well, they're already pretty structured.
He gets some
All
offers
ages.
on the table and
I
shit rolls
yeah.
down.
I don't think Dad retiring is the problem,
Right.
because Dad will continue to advise. Dad croaking might be a problem.
Yeah.
I would hate to see that.
Pivot.
I hope they go the way
Budweiser?
of In-N-Out Burger, okay? Which is that has had to endure the same transitions, and has had family members ready to do this or that. But ultimately, they too have decided to remain completely independent through a couple of generations now. And we hope to see that. My answer, if we don't see that, is the same as before. We will lose our shit. The craft beer community would be devastated by that type of thing happening. And I think the Grossman family understands that it's more than their own legacy. They know that the craft beer industry looks to them, and so I guess I would just hope they do. And if they don't, that'll be a very sad day. People will lose their shit.
I won't care.
That's my opinion.
last-
You won't care?
As long as they make fucking Celebration and Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and they can drop every other fucking beer they've ever made in their entire life. Because those are the two beers that matter, which I never see on tap. We need Celebration on tap right now.
It's just coming out. So.
I was so close to landing that Sierra sponsorship. That whole thing I just did,
Oh,
and then
damn it.
you
That was for it?
come in with that.
Yeah, you bring up that it's not on tap.
Well, okay, now that we're there, Ken Grossman's hair is awful. It's the worst hair in the industry.
So
I'm just kidding.
I'm going to continue hijacking your show here. Japanese craft breweries have been around for generations, and
got me through college.
Hitachino Ness, the fifth generation now. The president of Hitachino Ness died recently, and within the last month. And
oh wow,
one of the sons took over, and we were eating at his restaurant in San Francisco, and I said, "So how much is AB InBev offered you?" I have no idea if they. And of course they've offered him. I mean, it's a fifth generation Japanese craft brewery that's doing really well.
It's a
And
clean
he said,
transaction. You could just walk away.
And he said, something.
A lot of zeros.
Am I speaking off the record? No.
Give us the range.
Just saying, but it's like
a lot of zeros.
A lot of these generational breweries say, I think about my ancestors who worked their lives off to make this happen, and I'm haunted by that at night. And so, and intense pressure.
Oh.
Not to put any pressure on Brian Grossman, but I mean, it's like intense pressure. Yeah. It's like we've survived civil wars and the changing of eras and
wow.
And when a company like AB InBev comes to me and says we'll give you $300 million, it's just kind of like, well, been around 5 generations, there's something deeper.
It's a good thing I didn't create Sierra Nevada or one of these breweries.
Or the BN.
My family history is a bunch of mobsters and weirdos. I'd have sold in a goddamn second.
For $30.
I have no loyalty to that.
My point is, there's money and that's important, and then there's something deeper, and it really depends on who you are.
Yeah,
and you got to make your own decision. And
yeah,
we're not in those positions where we have to decide between like 8 generations.
Sure. And it could change at any time. You're right. The wrong person in there, you don't know who your kids are.
Well, if you start a company, you've got to expect like in 4 or 5 generations, it's time to sell it.
Yeah.
Johnson had to sell out. I mean, Johnson & Johnson had to sell out because there's too many grandchildren trying to get a piece of the action.
And Anheuser-Busch, let's look at that. They were a generational business, and All right, stop hijacking my fucking show.
Sorry.
Right. And that was beer news.
Do the news.
I like good enough beer news.
I do like the way you say it, though.
News.
Actually, my beer news is less interesting. But I do have to say, Adam and Eve is determined to help you spice things up in the bedroom.
There we go.
And they're backing up that promise. Check it out. Go to adamandeve.com. You get 50% off almost any item when you enter coupon code BNARMY.
Get that right?
Checkout. It's a good deal by itself, but backed by popular demand, you'll also get a free Big O kit.
Oh.
Yeah. Adam and Eve's Big O kit includes their exclusive
I'm going to put the mic back down.
Climax gel. Yeah, why did your mic just rise?
Because he couldn't trust himself.
That's how effective it is.
Big O kit includes their exclusive Climax gel and a mini vibrator.
Mini.
You'll also get your entire order sent to you for free. So hurry up, get your entire order for free. With this limited offer, choose a new adult toy, a naughty movie, or anything else. When you choose that item at 50% off, you get free shipping plus the Big O kit. And you won't find this deal anywhere else, they say.
Hey, Justin, what would be your favorite movie?
I don't have a favorite movie. And frankly, I can't say this during a sponsor thing.
You'd rather get the free thing?
I mean, just get it.
Mine was Nightmare on Porn Street. It was a Nightmare on Elm Street parody.
Oh.
But it was, it was
mine was actually The Hunt for Red Cocktober.
Those are just the best ones.
Yeah,
it could have nothing to do with either film, but as long as it's...
About spies in Russia?
Yeah.
You were impressed with the acting?
I was. And if you're feeling like a triple feature and feeling a little risque, you go with Schindler's Fist. I mean, there's a whole line of...
inappropriate.
Yeah. Or you can just go with good old Hot Shots.
Pardue.
Either one.
Pardue. That's the German
I don't
word.
like those. I just get into one and they switch to the other.
So there's a lot. If you want
a myriad, if you will.
Classics, there's always Mr. Holland Opened Us.
Oh, yeah.
That one was good.
In and out and in again.
Hong Kong, fuck you.
Look who's squirting now.
Yes, I have a lot of favorites.
I made that one up.
The
Thing.
Those really are my favorites. It's when the name is just the name. Yeah, those. Yeah.
Jaws.
Exactly.
But not toothy.
If there's not a porn called Jaws already, there needs to be.
Because there's Game of Bones.
Exactly.
Fist of Fury.
Yeah, see? Same name.
Yeah.
All right, use coupon code BNARMY at adamandeve.com. Maybe you'll find some of these wonderful movies.
Maybe.
I'm sure they're all there.
All right.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I brought this news story in because it has to do a little bit with consolidation. It was Constellation Brands that bought Ballast Point for $1 billion.
Yeah.
Was it $1 billion?
I think it's 1.1,
I
thought.
How many?
It's worth less now.
I still can't deal with that number.
Say the word again.
$1 billion. It still actually turns me inside out thinking about that.
It's a little offensive.
Well, I'm not offended by it.
Constellation Brands is branching out a little bit from beer now as they're doing their purchasing. And they're investing in the world's largest publicly traded cannabis company with an eye toward concocting marijuana-infused beverages.
Yeah, it's the new thing, dude.
Have you heard this?
Yeah, if you want to make money, get in the pot right now.
Yeah, there was a separate article that the headline was that pot's the new craft beer in America, which is probably reasonable. In exchange for $245 million Canadian, Constellation is receiving a 9.9% stake in medical marijuana producer Canopy Growth, which is sold on NASDAQ.
Oh.
It has a market value of $2.2 billion Canadian on the Toronto Exchange, and it trades under the ticker symbol WEED. which I thought was funny.
Wow, the early to get that?
It's worth $19 and 37 a share.
How long have they been in business?
The weed company? Yeah, who knows? Okay, there
14?
you go.
Oh, wow.
So
the Brewers,
we mentioned Bart Watson earlier, the chief economist at Brewers Association. He actually did a study on the effects of marijuana consumption on craft beer sales.
Oh, yeah?
I interviewed him on this at the Craft Brewers Conference in Washington, D.C., and they see no effect.
No increase or decrease.
What were the methods of his study?
I wouldn't change mine.
Really?
He just sat in a room.
I see no effect.
I still drank a six-pack.
What is
But I mean, it's interesting that it was a professionally done study that so far, they don't see a whole lot of impact. I mean, brewers should be more worried about wine and whiskey and other other.
That makes sense to me.
Well, they're interviewing Stone
as far as taking market share from beer.
Yeah,
that's correct.
That makes sense to me. I don't see that as a strong competitor.
Yeah.
While the Brewers said it wouldn't be selling any marijuana products in the U.S. until it was legal to do so at all levels of government, it did want to get out in front of what is surely an early-stage consumer trend. Currently, 29 states and the District of Columbia in the U.S. have legalized marijuana for medical purposes. Only 16 of them allow individuals to grow for home or medical reasons. And they're just looking to get into the weed business. That's not a dumb move.
Except that it's got to. They said they're not going to do much with it until it's federally approved. That's going to be
a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got an administration or two away from that. But
really?
Short of that, I wouldn't say it would be that far away. But that also could be bullshit, Tasty, because
right. You may know what.
Well, I guess on one hand, I'd say it would be bullshit because so much of weed is legal to be sold within the states, and that they'll just proceed with that anyway. But I guess because they're in an international company, Constellation Brands is not U.S.-based, they probably have a lot of federal regulations. Maybe they do need to be a lot more concerned about what the feds say in their business dealings than, say, Ballast Point alone had to do.
Yeah, because, a beer is a federally taxed product. It's a federal license in the U.S.
So you're right. That really could be a long-term investment, but not a bad one. I mean, the writing's on the wall, isn't it? It's certainly not going the opposite direction.
No, it's going to happen. Yeah. Personally, I'm not a big fan of marijuana beer.
Yeah.
I'm more of a good beer in one hand and a good joint in the other.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keep it separate and regulate. Exactly. You can control your dosage.
I don't know. Imagine when they do make marijuana beer, it's going to have like a rating on it, right? It's going to be like 0.25 grams or something like that.
Yes.
So you know what you're getting.
Well, that's like when you buy the stuff now at the edibles. It says how many grams are in there.
Drinkables are going to have the same sort of thing.
Yeah. I can't have any grams. None grams.
None more grams.
One gram you can have is
none more grams.
Yeah, I could have none grams of THC, which bothers me. I wish I could go back to smoking weed.
Why?
Why does it bother me? Because
it's not legal, and you.
No, because it doesn't work well with me. I used to enjoy it so much, but now I can't. It doesn't work. It's not nice. And so I'm saying it bothers me because
I like watching my friends on it, but I just...
Yeah, it sucks. But that's our problem.
Oh, I have other things.
Well, how about a little bit of Boston beer news?
Please.
Well, Boston Beer's having a little trouble.
They're selling out to like a Japanese place?
No, not quite. But their third quarter earnings were down yet again. And this particular article in the Motley Fool is calling it a sinking flagship brand, saying the biggest problem remains that Boston Beer's continuing inability to sell more of both its Samuel Adams beer and, this surprises me, its hard cider brand Angry Orchard.
Oh, that was a big...
that was growing for them.
It was growing like crazy, and in fact, other cider makers were both kind of loving and hating it because it was opening up a new market, but at the same time kind of dominating it.
Yeah, and
there wasn't much cider on the retail shelves.
Right.
Until they took it over.
The advertisement is still out there. I just saw one like maybe yesterday.
They're definitely still promoting it, but apparently they came out of the gate real strong and aren't doing quite as well. Both are caught in the vortex, pulling them lower. And those are its two actual biggest contributors still. But regardless of the strength exhibited by the smaller brand, this article says there's little hope for recovery if those two aren't doing well. So they fell about 3.5% for the quarter. Which was worse than the previous quarter. However, last year at the same time, they received an 8% decline. So they took this big hit. So
the hit this year was less than last year.
Was more. Yes, it was less than.
Always the optimist there, Beardy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you know me.
But it does kind of show that Boston Beer's not headed in the right direction. Chairman and founder Jim Koch, of course, rattled off a litany of woes.
What are they?
Well, I said the industry, including a soft craft beer and cider market in general, a weak retail environment, and, of course, increased competition. Now, as you guys know, Sam Adams has tried to recover from this with producing more different brands, different beers, putting out an IPA, putting out this, putting out that.
Back to the multi-tap for him.
Right.
Hasn't done anything
rotating
for him.
taps.
It's not done it for him. And market analysts are saying without Boston Lager and Angry Orchard doing well, they might be kind of fucked. So the reason I brought this up, too, though, is just kind of in relation to the last story. They are still branching out. There's still some brands I didn't know that Sam Adams are doing, and even some products I didn't know. You know, a little while ago, several years ago, I should say, Boston Beer got into the soda segment, the alcoholic soda segment, which came out like gangbusters and then also fizzled away.
Yeah.
Well, now they have this new product that I guess Boston Beer is putting a lot of money into called Truly Spiked and Sparkling, which is a spiked seltzer.
Yeah, carbonated spiked water is like
Turn
the
your
thing
microphone
right
on if you're going to clap and participate.
I didn't really want to participate. I just wanted to let you know that I think that's a great idea.
You like this idea, Bevo?
I do.
Why?
Because I like carbonated water.
Okay, just for the flavor.
And alcohol.
It's not like a
And fun.
calories
It's like drinking
thing or whatever.
And hydrating.
So you've never heard of a vodka soda?
Right. Yeah, so they're putting a bunch of money into this Truly thing, but it's kind of slow to take off because retailers are concerned about buying too much of it like they did with the soda craze and then being stuck with it. So they're working on it, but I just thought it was interesting. I actually did not expect to hear that Boston Beer was on a significant decline like that. I would have thought stagnant at the most, but I really thought that their cider category was killing it.
It was.
Right.
And I think it fell off a little bit.
12 packs of cider bottles. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
They're selling like crazy at all the
Do we
grocery
need
stores.
a brewing network
Marketing
show?
push?
No, just a show.
No, come on. I'm gonna
So
give
Bureau
them,
can
give
head
them
it
another
out.
free show.
2 years ago they were crushing it. And
Right.
Now
Yeah.
it's like
An 8% drop a year ago is enormous. That's a big drop in a year.
People didn't get paid.
Well, and you've seen the new marketing that they're doing too. They rebranded just label wise, but have you seen the commercials and stuff?
Mm-mm.
They're kind of starting to go a little old school. Not quite the Bud Light route, but they're really light-hearted, funny,
The friendly
Go to the
one.
beach kind of stuff?
really?
Not
Cheerleaders?
Corona. That's why I'm saying it's it's got that like cheesy announcer like a old Bud Light ad would have had.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite the women in bikinis and stuff. They're not going that far, but they're just kind of talking about a party, and it's got that cheesy like looking for your next. Yeah. They're trying to be. They're like straddling the fence between a Boston Beer ad, which would have been like Sam Adams.
The quality ingredients and the tradition of the thought.
And an old Bud Light party ad. So like, so
is it right in line between like satire and real life, where you can't tell
No,
if
it's
they're
not
being
like- it's-
ironic? Like, are they being marketing ironic?
No. I mean, you can tell they're trying to be funny, and it's kind of funny.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just it's lighthearted. Get an Oktoberfest. I don't know. Look it up, but it's different than they've ever done because before they were, a little more serious about it.
Can I throw it out there that maybe they're throwing out vulnerability and the fact that, someone might want to pick us up?
The old buyout.
They're publicly traded.
Yeah, it's a
so.
lame dog type trick.
Well, Jim Koch did go to, I believe it was the Senate or the House. I don't know, some fucking government.
It's all the same
here in the U.S. And
Aren't you part of
preach
that?
a little bit in the other direction, by the way, saying, I'm the last American large brewery.
Oh, I remember that.
Is what he was, and it was the point was actually well taken because he wasn't saying that there are no more Americans around me that own breweries. He was really just saying you guys need to pay attention to the buyouts that are happening because I very well may be the last large American brewer to stand in front of you and speak. My generation could be it. Because it is all being bought and sold and moved. And he wasn't talking about the tiny craft breweries, but he was talking about big beer. So he both was defending our industry and maybe saying, but look, I'm also going to fucking sell if that's the way it happens. You know. So
and with the kind of like putting it out there that we're declining with this and that, and
we'll see.
Oh, it's just the lame duck. Hey, shoot me.
What's the Pennsylvania brewery? That's
Yingling.
Old. It's like 4 or 5 generations.
At least.
And he's got 4 daughters, and he's trying to sell to his daughters. I mean, to me, that seems like the greater tragedy if that one sells to like a...
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. There's that one, and what's the
Shells
other
is
one?
right
That's
behind them.
what I was trying to think of. Shells, yeah.
But they're good at least for the next generation.
Yeah. Jason's into it.
Jason and his brother are 100% in.
Okay. All right. The only other thing I had was Brewdog. Don't they have a brew pub in Japan? Yeah?
In Roppongi.
Yeah, okay. They're just putting out a beer called... it's a whole play on the Make America Great Again thing, but it's about climate change. They're pissed about Trump backing out of the Paris Accords and different things. So they're putting out a beer, Make Earth Great Again. It's their new protest beer. There's an image of Trump fighting with a polar bear on the... on the label.
A squirrel with a
I feel sorry for the polar bear.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not that out of the ordinary. But the interesting thing I found is that the beer's made with water from the polar ice caps.
Wait a second.
It's melting, so why not use it?
Well, right, but it's melting into the sea, so
they're going
I would
and
think they
harvesting.
went and harvested some ice to get the polar.
I mean, maybe
it's a little counterintuitive. I mean, yes,
those guys, they're flim flam man. They put a gallon of that water in the whole batch.
Right. They said what they got it as. JP, I might need you to look this up because it was a weird thing.
They're marketing guys,
right?
By the way, proceeds for the beer are going to a UK charity combating climate change at a local level, they say.
So we took water from the polar ice caps at what carbon footprint to bring it down to Scotland to make a beer to fight climate change in the UK?
Right. So it's water sourced from the Arctic ice caps. It's made using Arctic cloudberries. That's what I need you to look up, JP.
Arctic cloudberries.
Arctic cloudberries. Which the article here says, which are doing about as well as the ice caps, but I don't know what they are.
There's a Swedish band called Cloudberry Jam. So
wow.
It's like polar bear droppings that froze.
It will,
in Sweden, cloudberries and cloudberry jam are used as a topping for ice cream, pancakes, and waffles.
But nothing on Arctic cloudberries?
We were talking about marijuana earlier. Somebody needs to trademark that name.
Cloudberries.
Yeah. Arctic cloudberry, the Nordic secret to glowing skin. That's the first thing that comes up when you search Arctic cloudberry. But it's just cloudberry, and I'm sure that they're in the Arctic.
Okay.
All right.
So is it just a berry?
So I don't know.
Fruit?
Yeah, just a fucking
They
fruit.
mentioned
Looks
how
like a
many,
retarded
cost per
raspberry.
barrel?
Well, what about the water, though? It doesn't say anything about that.
Well, it's just
like you said, it's a gallon that they... Yeah. And can they prove it? Like, did they...
I was going to say.
I wonder about
check
that.
that shit out.
Did they really do it?
Yeah,
like,
let's get a bottle and see how much Arctic water's in it.
It would bother me if they didn't do it, okay? Because then it makes them just as much as a dick.
That's why you just get a gallon and see.
Yeah, but how? And did they? I don't even know if they... I'm saying I don't even know if they did that.
Well, maybe another article might go into how they did it, but probably not. They just said they took some...
I'm going to contact James. Find out about this Arctic water situation.
Well, there are people who are selling like polar ice cap water, like they're packaging it.
Oh, so they went to the corner store,
right? Yes,
and bought the. Now I see.
Mm-hmm.
Now Tasty's making sense with this theory.
Yeah.
Okay,
2 of them.
All right, that's all I have in the news for you today. Just a couple interesting things
Thanks
there.
for that.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? The world's fucked, right?
Ice is melting.
Ice melts. I mean, since when does ice melt?
Yeah. Oh, since the Ice Age? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Do we have some Twitter game results, JP?
We sure do, Justin. Thanks for asking.
What was our Twitter game?
Our Twitter game was Jamil, in fact, has been recording Brew Strong, but nobody knows about it. It's been in secret.
Yeah.
So what else has he been doing in secret?
Okay. And what did we get?
Ben the Brewer says that Jamil has been coming up with a magic elixir to keep Justin alive.
Yes. Thank God.
Drunk Rhino says he's been inventing a new line of brewing equipment that doubles as sex toys.
That is a very Jamil thing to do, actually.
I agree.
That is showing some insight into Jamil.
Jeff says, to make ends meet and hoping for a handout, Jamil has been hiring himself out as a professional scarecrow in the hop fields.
Okay.
I don't understand that one, but I thought maybe it was like an inside joke that someone else would get.
He does look like shit sometimes. He's very tired and working hard.
He looks like
he
3X overalls stuffed with 2 pounds of fucking straw.
He just looks like he needs to sleep, for God's sake, sometimes. I look at him and I go, Jamil, take a nap.
You're different colors. What are you doing right now?
Anything.
Yeah.
All right.
You're like a broken chameleon. Ryan Turner says, wearing a mustache disguise, he's rebrewing all of Brewing Classic Styles recipes to reclaim the NHC title for the BN.
Oh, that would be cool.
He never claimed it for the BN.
Samuel Loader says he's been weaving merkins while sitting on a firkin. Stupid, but I thought it was funny because it kind of rhymes, right?
Yeah,
Merkins on a firkin.
Yeah.
Rich writes in and says, homebrewing an immortality elixir to improve his odds in the BN death pool. Secret ingredient, JP's thyroid.
Wow.
Which you don't want that, that's for sure.
Is gone anyway.
That'll go the opposite way. That's true.
Can't get that.
And last but not least, Lloyd McClure says, recording episodes of Strong Brew in Chechnya on their new podcast network Brewing.
Strong Brew.
Recorded on 8-track at the Grenade Hop.
It's Network Brewing.
See, Bevo, it's still funny.
Come down to Grenade Hop.
She missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, hell.
I rest my case.
Even the grenade, they just flip it around and
Grenade
put the thing on the other side.
Put it around.
Yeah.
We're not the best. We're just the only one.
Yeah. There's no pin in it.
Strong Brew.
Listen, or you get Doc's ration for next week.
Oh, what the
Welcome
hell?
to session, though.
I'm PJ, your host.
It's PJ Nitsuch.
Misjudged. With Talk More, Warren.
Warren, say it again.
You're so clever, Warren.
Go on. Was that
That's it.
Who wins?
Yeah.
Wait, what was the last one?
The Strong Brew.
Strong Brew in Chechnya.
Yeah.
This is tough because I wanted because
Like
the
first one I like. The first one was
Right. Yeah.
Well, I like the realistic one about Jamil
Sex toys.
producing
yes,
sex
yes.
toys because that's a very it's very plausible.
That is a very Jamil thing to do.
But
Oh, yeah, he would be very
but-
precise.
I'm sure he's already done it. That's the problem with Jamil.
yeah, he's done that and failed at that business already. Strong Brew though is funny.
Oh, we don't know if he failed at it.
That's true.
Maybe that's where he's been.
He wouldn't have told us.
Oh, he would have a signature line at Adam and
Oh,
Eve.
yeah.
We're going to have to do an actual hand vote on this one for the first
geez.
time in a while. 'cause-
Okay.
So I vote that those are our two, right?
Which ones again?
Sex toys and Strong Brew.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
I love Strong Brew. I wish that a listener would produce just one. I just want one episode of Chechnyan Strong Brew.
Hello.
We're drinking this, and nobody cares.
Right, these are our Chechnyan accents. I don't know. We're not actually from Chechnya. I want you to know
if you
that.
could tell.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell?
It's not a tired joke either.
No, it's not.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You know what? You're
It
a fucking
goes
tired
on.
joke right now.
Yeah.
Bruno.
Twitter brought new life
And
to a classic.
Yeah, I'm voting for it. Go ahead. You can,
All right,
raise your
so
hand.
hang on. I got to think. I don't know what I'm voting for.
Whatever.
I'm ready.
It is tough because Rhino has, like you said, the Jamil insight, and that's very important in a thing like this. And then, but we got a lot of life out of Strong Brew. So
I had a great time. We're all laughing and shit.
Here, take a while because I forgot to do plugs. So just take a while.
Well, no, I'm ready.
taking
to,
a while.
I'm ready to
Yeah.
go.
All
All right, raise your hand if it's Jamil sex toys.
And
I am from
That's it.
Chechnya, and I have met
Yeah.
Jamil, and I can say that he is
Yeah.
All about the sex toys.
So we got one vote. Are you raising your hand?
One
vote.
Rise pro sex.
Raise your hand if it's Strong Brew from Chechnya. Yeah. Took a
Even
cake. I
Bevo.
needed a good laugh.
Even Bevo.
And Ry voted again for it, too. So
It really worked.
That's our winner today. Who was it, JP?
It was Lloyd McClure.
All right.
Can you say it again?
Lloyd McClure.
No, not that.
Well done, sir.
Not
You're going to
that.
get a prize from Bevo. You just got to send an email, or JP takes care of it. I don't know what happens.
Bev does everything.
All right. Next week on the program, we've got Oregon fruit products.
Oregon.
In the studio. Oh, that's nice. A lot of in-studio people like us nowadays.
What are we tasting now?
Yeah, everybody comes out to hang out with us. It's been very nice.
Yeah. Have people come back?
Well, no.
Oh.
One thing at a time.
Okay,
Jesus Christ.
okay.
Why do you got to shit on it?
Which...
Well, I'm just hope. Well,
Have you met Warren
clearly
before?
they're enjoying us.
Well,
if they never come back.
Rye's come back.
Oh, that's true.
So
He doesn't look
I have
happy
come back
about
from
it.
the border of Chechnya.
yeah.
Right.
In Chechnya, we don't come back anywhere. We're
Hey, my
dead.
name is
He's a lucky
Ry.
man.
We can't afford to leave, so we're here. We don't
right.
come back because we've been here.
I've been here again. They didn't even ask me.
You're lucky you come back to tomorrow.
Because in Chechnya,
You
there's
don't.
no tomorrow.
That's right.
There's only yesterday.
We really said that.
There's only in Chechnya. There's only yesterday. That is their country slogan.
The flag, it flies backwards.
There's only yesterday. What are you doing tomorrow? Shut up.
I'm thinking about what I should have done yesterday.
When is that? Yeah.
I ride the horse to the border.
You good, JP?
I'm good.
All right. We're going to get out of here. Next week, Oregon fruit products. And me. I'll be here.
What's your favorite fruit product?
That's fun. I don't know. I haven't tried them yet.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to
You have
have
to be a home brewer.
They were on the sour hour a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's like all the sour beer guys, that's what they use.
Yeah, we
Jay uses
tasted
them a
fruit
lot.
next week, so...
You know, in
I'll
Chechnya,
taste
they're
it.
looking for suicide bombers. No experience.
Yeah. Residents only.
Must show ID at bomb making factory.
Yeah.
Are you sure you'll make up the quality we need?
Going to be like a 36 to 38 size vest.
That was dark.
Chechnya, they don't look for suicide bombers.
Yeah. Instead of build
They
a
just
bear,
put-
it's build a bomb.
You were born in Chechnya. You are a suicide.
That's right.
Wow.
They just
Jesus
they just
Christ,
put
Doc.
vest on citizen.
Yeah. Congratulations. One congratulation.
Hey, beer, you're going to die.
Yeah, only one more person.
All right, we're out of here. Take us away, JP. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you to our show sponsor, More Beer, where you can get absolutely everything you need or could want to make great beer at home by going to morebeer.com. Ry Beville was from Japanese Beer Times, was in the studio to talk about the craft beer scene in Japan. Check out his work over at japanbeertimes.com. Merge your love of Disneyland with your lack of engaging podcasts. Go to earsuppodcast.com as JP, Terrence, Bevo, and Taryn talk about all things Disney. Get on Twitter for some good beer insight at Homebrew Info, and follow Nate Smith at Nathan Homebrew, Mike McDowell at Tasty McD. Warren is stuck over at Another Beardy, and the great Beverly is crushing cyberspace at Bevo1. JP thinks Twitter is dead, and you should follow him on Instagram at Major Jip. Today's show is produced by our very own Beverly, and your host has been Justin Crossley. Be sure to find the Brewery Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. JP's an asshole. Justin's a nice guy and winning the race. JP does great as his charity case.